population were classified as weaker rural areas, while in what was known as stronger rural areas proved more difficult to secure planning permission in. It was agreed by members yesterday that the two be amalgamated and designated weaker rural areas under the new county development plan. The changes now have to be agreed by the planning regulator, but Councillor Liam Blaney is hopeful of a positive outcome.
It should make it easier for local people to be able to get planning in the county. But look, it has to go yet in front of the regulator, it has to go in front of the minister, and there's no guarantee that it's going to stay there. But I'm glad with the outcome of the meeting, and I'm glad the way that we finished the meeting and that the executive was in the right place for us, and that they did work with us to try and get the best outcome that we thought that we could get possible out of it.
The Donegal executive of Fianna Fáil have written to party headquarters appealing for Senator Niall Blaney to be added to the ticket in the European Parliament elections. Senator Blaney narrowly missed out on selection with just 71 votes between him and Laois Offaly TD Barry Kyan, who will contest the election for the Midlands and North West constituency. Andrew Louth has more.
The Fianna Fáil Donegal Corlea Dáil counter has sent a letter on behalf of the executive and the membership appealing to the party headquarters to add Senator Niall Blaney to the Fianna Fáil ticket in the Midlands North West European Parliament election. Senator Blaney received a total of 1,071 votes, just behind Deputy Barry Cowan's 1,142 votes. It's believed the party is considering running a second candidate in the region. In its letter, the Donegal executive says it is the view of the party in Donegal that the addition of Senator Blaney will ensure a strong performance in the European elections and afford Fianna Fáil the opportunity to win 2 seats. Sligo Corlea Dáil counter has also written to the Fianna Fáil headquarters stating that they are backing Senator Blaney for Europe and encourage the Senator's addition to the ticket.
Gardaí have conducted a checkpoint outside Duncanely National School where serious safety concerns have repeatedly been raised. Most recently, a video shows a number of motorists ignoring the red light signal at the crossing outside the school while a mother and her child waited there. The Donegal Town Roads Policing Unit yesterday carried out a speed check at the school and observed driver behaviour at the traffic lights. One driver was caught travelling at 69 km per hour in the 50 km per hour zone. They've been fined €160 and handed 3 penalty points. Gardaí are appealing to drivers to slow down, be particularly careful when travelling in school areas, be prepared to stop and obey all traffic signals. Finally, for weather, cold this morning with frost and icy stretches. It will be dry and calm with hazy sunshine for much of the day. Highest temperatures of 4 or 5 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus who?
Disney Plus has comedy.
What?
Seriously, Disney Plus has comedy classics like Modern Family. I love it! New Girl.
It's happening!
And seasons 1 to 34 of The Simpsons. Woohoo! All these and so much more now streaming on Disney Plus. 18 plus subscription required. T's and C's apply.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 7th of February. How are you all keeping? I hope you're doing very well indeed. And you're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. Loads to keep you informed and entertained over the next 3 hours. We want you involved in that conversation as well. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. If you want to dial us from outside the Republic, the dialing code, as I'm sure you would know, is 00353 and drop the first O. If you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And of course, you can watch the show daily here on your big screen, your smart TV or your Fire Stick. Open the YouTube channel and type in Highland Radio Ireland and you'll see we're live, and you can take us across your mobile devices on that app and on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport. So tons of way for you to interact, watch, listen, text, email and all that jazz. OK, let's have a look at some of the front pages this morning. We'll start with the Finn Valley Voice. The Finn Valley's main centres of population are not at risk from suspected carcinogenic substances in their drinking water. Ireland's Environmental Agency has confirmed, but questions remain over water supplies in Lettermack Ward and Glenties Ardra, two areas which marginally overlap the Finn Valley. The EPA reassurance came in a week when the European Court of Justice ruled that the concentration of certain chemicals, and on it goes onto the inside of the paper, which I just don't have access to at the moment. Irish Independent continue their study of access to GPs and the cost of GPs indeed. People in Dublin pay up to €50 more for a GP appointment than those elsewhere. There's a significant gap in what patients pay for a standard GP appointment, depending on where they live. An Irish Independent nationwide survey of 275 registered GPs has shown. Now, this is the same questionnaire they must have issued yesterday when they said that a lot of GPs aren't taking on new clients and that there are some quite long delays in accessing GPs in certain areas. Well, the study reveals that most expensive GP appointments was a practice in Dublin city centre for €80, while the cheapest available at a practice in County Monaghan for just €30. On the less expensive end of the scale, one GP in Sligo sets consultation fees at 45, a GP in Kerry charges 40, and a GP in Donegal apparently charges €35. So the average range of GP prices is €35 to €65. So there's at least one GP in Donegal that charges €35 for a consultation, which is, especially if you can get it, it's one of the lowest in the country. It's just €5 above the lowest in the country. So I'd say that's not the general experience, but anyway, apparently one GP, €35. Inside the Irish Times, former politician turned GB News presenter Nigel Farage said his brand of right-wing politics is growing in Ireland as he praised the size of an anti-immigration march held in Dublin on Monday. Mr Farage, who was speaking on the Irish Times, to the Irish Times on the fringes of the Westminster launch yesterday of former Prime Minister Liz Truss's new popular Conservative faction, also criticised the Republic's political establishments over its handling of immigration. I've long been surprised that the Irish politics in Dublin didn't represent a lot of the conversations that I've heard travelling around the other parts of Ireland, he said. But I think that's now beginning to happen. Mr Farage, the founder of the UK's Independence Party, remains one of the most influential figures in British politics and also finished third in the I'm a Celebrity reality television show in December. He spoke approvingly in London of the right-wing march held in Dublin on Bank Holiday, for which about 300 Gardaí were deployed. Now, I'm not sure those taking part would... a lot of those taking part would like to be classified as right-wing. But anyway, Nigel Farage praised the level of attendance there. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and the EU has set out plans to slash net greenhouse gas emissions by 90% for 2040 under an ambitious target that will test political appetite for the fight against climate change ahead of the European elections. Now, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day, which wasn't that long ago. We're in 6 years' time, there's supposed to be 1 million electric cars on the road, and every other house was supposed to be retrofitted. I'm not sure how much of that is happening. Yes, I mean, more people are getting electric and hybrid vehicles, but certainly not at the levels, and there's not even the charging infrastructure for the cars that are there at the moment. And at the same time, there are serious question marks over retrofit proposals. We're seeing a massive pushback from the farming community across Europe if the powers that be go after them to try and address these targets. So where else is there left to turn? Building all the wind power, wave power is not going to reach these targets. These cuts have to come from somewhere. But my point being anyway is, here we go, 90% by 2040, yet it seems that any of the targets they've set for even 2030, they're going to fall well short. So my point being, it just sounds like the same story over again, and nothing will come of it eventually. But anyway, I must read on, because these are the things people are talking about. While the overall target was within the range recommended by the bloc's official climate science advisors, the EU executive weakened part of the recommendation concerning agriculture in response to weeks of protest by farmers angry about European green rules, among other complaints. So we did see farmers driving into Letterkenny on the hard shoulder there the other day, in France, what they're doing is they're putting silage and slurry into businesses in front of the Eiffel Tower, piling bales of hay, as I said, slurry. The Spanish are doing the same there. It'll be interesting to see with the, at the moment, softly approach of the Irish farmers, and that's not a criticism, by the way, but obviously what the European, mainland European farmers are doing is making a difference in terms of policy. Will we see the same sort of changes in policy here with the Irish farmers taking a slightly softer approach, if that makes sense? A previous draft of the EU target had said agriculture would need to cut non-CO2 emissions by 30% by 2040 and 2015 levels to comply with the overall climate goal that was removed from the final draft. Okay. So I presume if they're going to make cuts, they'll have to make them across Europe, and some countries will see a greater impact than others will. That's the kind of point I was making. Into the Star now, and a GEA All-Star who's expecting her first baby with her wife is urging more male inter-county players to come out as gay. Geraldine Doherty, who's 37, said she believes male players are still fearful of coming out in the GEA community, which she says is very accepting. The former Meath Ladies Gaelic Football Association player is one of a few female selectors in the country after she took on the role with the men's team at her club, St Ultan's. She was previously a selector with the ladies team in Dunshaughlin. I always found the GEA to be so equal and so inclusive. My sexuality was never an issue. The GEA was such a safe place, and it was my safe place, said the former forward, who won an All-Ireland in 2005. If I was ever struggling in myself, I'd go to a football training that night and all my troubles would be gone away. So she says more fellas, if they're gay, should come out. But I suppose that's her story, but I suppose it's up to each individual, isn't it, really, what they decide to do. But I suppose she's not saying otherwise, but she's saying it is a welcoming place. We're going to get some sleet, snow over the next couple of days. There was speculation back some time ago, and it's come to pass. The long-range weather forecasts were pretty accurate. Reading from the Irish Daily Mirror here, cold weather is forecast to make a bitter comeback as Ireland's recent mild temperatures plummet and snow is coming. Meteorn says thermometers will drop as low as -3 with wintry flurries affecting many areas. 3 separate status yellow snow and ice warnings were issued yesterday. Tonight's expected to bring rain and sleet across Munster, Connacht and Leinster, and snow is possible while more is likely to fall on Thursday in Ulster. In the first status yellow snow and ice alert, which applies to Connacht plus Cavan and Monaghan, there are warnings about hazardous driving conditions. And then, of course, that yellow was extended to Donegal for Thursday. So some potentially difficult driving conditions on Thursday into Friday there. And finally, parents' fibs folly. Children who are lied to by their parents are more likely to turn into fibbers, a study shows. The link was found to be strongest in those told untruths to get them to change their behaviour. But even white lies were enough to turn a child into a fibber. The findings are from a study of 564 children in Singapore. The doctor involved said, the bad news is for parents is that sometimes honesty may be the best policy. But I remember back from my youth, when we lived in a more urban area, the parents used to tell their children that when the ice cream van was making its noise, when the music was coming, that meant that they'd sold out of ice cream. And that was a warning that there was no more ice cream left. So every time it come around, you could hear the ding, 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 ding. And said, oh no, they've run out of ice cream. What's the best fib you've ever told your children, or you were ever told as a child that you believed? I actually thought my parents, now this wasn't a lie, but I thought my parents' name was Mum and Dad. Genuinely did, right up until I was certainly in double figures. So I was asked what was their names at school, and I says Mum and Dad, which obviously went down well with the classroom bullies. But anyway, what fibs have you told? What fibs were you told? Let us know. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. It is the 9 till noon show, and we'll be back with more on the programme in just a couple of moments. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
18 hours. That's how long O'Hara's takes to craft the distinctive flavour and texture of our 18-hour fermented sourdough bread. You see, at O'Hara's of Foxford, we've been baking bread since 1951, so we know you can't hurry perfection. One bite and you'll agree that true taste takes time.
Welcome to Boots. How can we help? Is it normal that it stings when I want to support my immune system?
With a fungal nail infection? And why can't I maintain my
earwax build-up and my
retreating hairline? Maybe my blood pressure's
light, regular or super plus?
Whatever your question, ask a pharmacist first and get advice without needing an appointment. Boots, with you for life. See boots.ie for details.
The new year is here, but don't forget about the old tax year. Log on to Revenue's My Account to check your end-of-year position and claim any tax credits you were entitled to. If you're due a refund, you'll get it within days. If you owe us money, we'll work with you on payment options. My Account. It's quick, it's easy, and it's free.
Are you planning a home renovation project and don't know where to start? Foy & Company are here to help with free in-store interior design and paint colour consultants all this month. Our interior designers will turn your dreams into a reality. We're the largest stockists of interior and exterior paint in the Northwest, and we have free delivery on furniture purchased this month to Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. Foy & Company in Ballybuffet, Letterkenny and online at foys.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we're joined in a studio now by Ben Harkin, author of Time No Tide, Ireland and Climate Change. A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for calling in. Good to see you.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Good. Talk to us a little bit about Time No Tide, Ireland and Climate Change.
Well, Time No Tide was a book I wrote a couple of years ago. It was in 2020 about climate change, about I suppose what's causing it in Ireland, what are the effects that we can expect, and I suppose what we can do about it as well. So I was looking at agriculture and electricity and all the important sectors.
What is the reality of our power infrastructure here? Because I've done a little bit of reading on this, and apparently our plans are very ambitious, but the infrastructure really is not there to match those plans. You know what I mean? And we need maybe a more realistic, honest conversation with the public. What's your assessment of what's being proposed and how achievable that might be?
Yeah, there's big ambition, so there is, and I suppose there's nothing wrong with ambition, but we need a plan to get there. I suppose infrastructure is the key word. At the minute, we have a lack of infrastructure for our grid. So we all know Donegal, for example, generates a lot of wind energy, but I think around 15-20% of that wind energy last year went to waste because we couldn't actually move it around the country. So we don't have that infrastructure to move it. We don't have the battery capacity even just to hold it for a couple of hours. So that's something that we need to get to grips with if we plan on using more renewables. As well, we have the problem that renewables are bringing down our prices. They're saving us I think 1.6 billion between gas and coal last year. But then when the wind stops blowing in that, we need fuels to keep us going. And then we're using expensive coal generators to keep us running, and that's sort of cancelling out the effect of a lot of the wind, especially there during Storm Isha, during a lot of the nights. Electricity was basically free with the amount of wind energy we're producing, but to keep the power going during the day, we had to use coal on that, which was really, really expensive, and that's keeping bills high for people like you and me.
Is there a realistic battery storage option that we're simply not using, or is that technology there?
Well, the technology is there. Like in the UK, they use it an awful lot. So they have these markets set up that just make sure that there's that the grid stays stable, and that just means that you don't have to turn on, for example, a gas generator. To keep you going for an hour, you can use batteries. They won't keep you going for days at a time, but they'll keep you over them sort of short periods. I suppose when we're looking at longer periods, I suppose I've been writing recently about how perhaps it's time to take a look at nuclear energy in the future, because I suppose it is a lot cleaner, and as well it provides that stable source of energy that gas and coal are currently giving us.
Yeah, but we kind of ruled that out in the past. Do you think that's something we should revisit?
Yeah, so there was proposals to build a plant in the 70s. The government proposed it, and then there was a visceral nationwide reaction to it. There was concerts and all that, and we ended up actually banning it in 1999. So we did, but we actually can use it today. We import nuclear energy from the UK. We're going to import it from France. But I think that, I suppose there are critics of nuclear energy, and I think that what they say is right. Some of the nuclear plants are too big. They would be a threat to Ireland's grid if they suddenly turned off. But there's new technology that's coming online in the next decade or so. Small modular reactors. They're built in mass assembly units, so they are, and then they're sort of put together. They're a lot smaller, and as well, that means that there's just less investment. The UK is investing massively in bringing these online. Rolls-Royce are making them, and I think that it is something to consider. It isn't something that'll bring a short-term benefit to people, but I think it is one of them long-term plans. Like, we have to remember, I suppose, we decided not to go nuclear in the 70s, and we ended up building the Money Point power station. And that station, we're still running it today on coal, and it's a really expensive part of the grid that's keeping people's bills high. So these long-term decisions, I think maybe we just need to revisit it.
One of the arguments, because it is one of the debates that comes in cycles.
Yeah.
And one of the arguments, and it came from the Green Party, is that given the size of Ireland and the cost and the investment in running it, that there's always export options, I presume, but that it would actually drive up the price of electricity. That was the argument that was made.
Yeah.
But your argument would be on a smaller scale nuclear plant. Like, does it mean that we're independent? Or would it actually mean that we'd be paying less for electricity? Because there's no way a politician could get it over the line saying you'll have a sustained power, but your electricity is going
but you'll pay more. That argument doesn't work. Well, I would say that what is pushing bills up at the minute is the fact that we're using fossil fuels, and the Green Party is right. The plants, the historic plants that are used are too big. They're too big for Ireland. It wouldn't really work. But that's why I think these smaller plants that are being built deserve consideration. They're around the size, or if not smaller, than the gas plants that we use today. There's a lot of people who talk about Ireland being the Saudi Arabia of Europe. We're going to export electricity all around the world, because we're going to generate it really cheaply. But the biggest exporter of electricity in Europe is France, and they generate 60% of their electricity from nuclear, and that's because they know that every day they're going to have clean, relatively cheap electricity made from nuclear, and then if they make more from renewables, that's great. They can
Is it really clean though? I mean,
yeah. Well,
you know what I mean. What do you do with the waste?
Yeah. Well, I would say
there's arguably barrels and barrels and barrels of it off the northwest coast here, where it's some other country thought they were making a clean product and dumped it off our coast.
Well, I would say it is. I suppose another benefit of these small modular reactors is that they can actually run off nuclear waste from other countries. So I suppose we have that their capability as well. But I mean, 10% of the world's electricity is run on nuclear. It's used all over Europe. The countries with the cheapest electricity in Europe, and the Nordic countries all use nuclear. And as well, nuclear, I think I see it sort of as the air travel of electricity. It's a thing that we get worried about the most, and that's why it's the safest. For every terawatt hour of coal you produce, it results in around 28 deaths between air pollution and accidents and that. For coal, it's around 2.5, or for nuclear, it's around 2.5 deaths. For gas, it's around 2.5, and for nuclear, it's around 0.03. It's tiny for nuclear, and that is because we do put on all these regulations because we are so safe.
But when it goes wrong, it often goes wrong on a grand scale. I don't know what the implications would be in terms of if there were a disaster. And it's like anything. Even when I'm preparing for a show, I'm kind of preparing for something to go wrong. Because when everything goes right, it's grand. So what do you do when things go wrong? You could be talking water pollution, which would devastate the fishing industry, which is already on its knees. If there was a problem in terms of farming exports, even if something wasn't damaged, you can forget about that. Right, we'd be really putting all our eggs into one basket, especially when there seems to be a move towards solar, offshore wind, which would be more, and wave electricity generation, which would be more predictable than turbines. So whilst it's an interesting conversation, if you were to sort of a for and against column, the against column would seemingly have an awful lot more in it than the for column. Now, column. Now you might well say that's not the case, but you know, it would be a big gamble for Ireland and what keeps this country ticking.
Yeah, well, I suppose the fact that the reactors, so these things can be sort of put together in pieces, so you can start off really small, but I do think that, you know, all serious, like there is no silver bullet, I think, for electricity. You know, I'm a massive fan of renewables. You know, again, I wrote the book, renewables is sort of the basis of it, but you need to have a long-term strategy. And everything's going to come with trade-offs. You know, I think that the fossil fuels that we use today come with a lot of trade-offs. I think we kind of assume they don't just because that's what we use. You know, we have massive air pollution problems. We're paying massive costs, not to mention, I suppose, the countries that we're buying them from as well. I think that nuclear works well in Europe. I think that the new technology that we're going to have is going to work even better. And, you know, maybe it won't work in Ireland, but I'm saying that while we have this ban, we can't really take that consideration seriously.
But where would you put it? You know, like, where would you put it? And my understanding is it would have to have access to. It'd have to be on the coast, wouldn't it? Because you need massive amounts of water to cool and what have you. What county is going to allow that? You know, that outwash as well that would be there. Not that it'd be radioactive or harmful, right? But, you know, inshore fishermen would have a say in it. You know, offshore fishermen would have a say in it. Coastal communities would, like, where could you actually put it? And I mean, that is quite an important question in this debate.
It's a massive consideration in this debate, and I suppose, like, the government identified the point of Cairnsmore Point in the 70s as being the suitable choice for it. You know, perhaps even where Money Point is located now, you know, we could locate it there. Like, I suppose there is going to be people that aren't going to want it. Maybe you can work with counties to say, you know, we can reduce electricity bills if you have it close to you or something like that there. But we have to think seriously about these problems. If we want to bring electricity prices down, we want to keep them going down.
We were told that if we accept. We were kind of told that if we accept wind farms in our localities, that would drive the price of electricity down. It didn't. It doesn't.
Well, it does, you know.
No, it doesn't. Come here. It doesn't, because it doesn't, Ben. We've guaranteed the wind energy producers. We've guaranteed them a unit price equal to that of coal or gas generated electricity.
Well, that's only a small percentage of the wind generators. You know, you can see plainly when you look at wholesale prices. You know, if you look at the hourly prices.
But ours is some of the most expensive electricity in Europe.
No, well, like, it is. Like, you know, we didn't use 1.6 billion worth of gas and coal last year because of wind. So wind pushes out the expensive generators. That is what happens. Wind is bringing down the price. I know we're not feeling it, but the reason the prices have gone up in recent years is because gas has gone up.
Yeah, and that's the reason why is the price of green energy is linked to the price of gas-generated energy. That's indisputable.
I don't think it is, Greg. I think you're wrong on that there.
Okay.
Renewables are bringing down prices. They're bringing them down now, and they're going to keep doing it. You know, it's important that, I suppose, we just established now a clean and relatively cheap form of secure energy that we can use in the future to help.
And the argument is, and I think even Eamon Ryan stated it, like, you know, we do need a backup.
Yeah,
we do need a backup, whether it be coal or. So why are the major nations like China? Why are they sort of going back to sort of coal? I wonder. Now you don't have all the answers. Well, maybe you do, but you know they're starting to construct again, and are constructing an awful lot of coal generated electricity. Wonder why they are not going down the nuclear route.
Well, China actually is one of the major supporters of small modular reactors. They have a state company that is trying to build them. You know, they want nuclear. I suppose they have a lot of coal in China, and they're outside of the world's carbon taxes, so it works pretty well for them. But China is going nuclear as well. You know, they're going to need more energy density in their big cities and that, and you know they're planning on looking at this technology, and they want to build it, and that's also, I suppose, why America is trying to build it faster than them.
No problem. And Ben, this is not a personal question, but I've asked it before of people coming in about talking different things. I mean, are you paid to push for nuclear?
No,
so
I'm
this
not.
is just your own.
No,
this is just your own passion.
If anyone would like to pay me, I'll take it. But I'm not paid.
I can also change my position. I'm only messing. I'm not anti anything. I'm learning the whole time.
No, it's a conversation.
In the course of this conversation, like I feel like I am learning. Yeah. I think it's just what is it? NIMBYism, not in my backyard. It's going to be a toughie, but. You believe that, this is a question, not a statement, you believe that whatever direction we're going, all the cards have to be back on the table, and we have to have a grown-up conversation about the reality of it. Because I'm just thinking, in an election cycle, when is the right time to talk about nuclear? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's probably not. It's probably not in an election cycle.
Exactly. So
it would probably require a new government with, I suppose, new political capital that would want to do it. But yeah, Greg, it's a grown-up conversation about putting all the cards on the table. Like I say, there is no silver bullets. You know that renewables are going to bring down the price of electricity. They are bringing it down today, but that we need to make sure that we have that stable backup. We're using gas and we're using coal, and I think that we just shouldn't assume that that's what we should use in the future.
All right, interesting, Ben. Ireland's energy revolution, making the case for nuclear. Is that like a paper you've written, or is it accessible for those that want to sort of hear a different? Because the one thing that I am a big advocate of is, even if I were think what you're saying is ridiculous, like nuclear, are you having a laugh? You really need to sort of at least have a glance over.
Absolutely.
Your arguments before you formulate that up. But if we are truly going to be free thinking people, doing our research, you do have to sometimes expose yourself to something that you don't fully agree with. So where can people read it if they wish?
People can get that there if they go onto my Twitter, Ben Harkin. You can find links to my Substack there. I post all different articles about energy and there about nuclear. But you're right, Greg. When I wrote my book in 2020, I didn't even mention nuclear. I didn't consider it, and like you say, you have to, I suppose, take in these opinions, read the papers that you disagree with, and that's, hopefully, I suppose we can come together to get some real answers to the problems we have in our grid.
Oh, for sure. Listen, we're not going to get anywhere if we are polarised. We have to debate and discuss where we're going. Anyway, this is not the most emotive of conversations, but it's an interesting one. Ben Harkin, thank you very much indeed. And you can check him out on X/Twitter.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Because we're getting older, they feel we shouldn't have rights. So stand up and be counted, look after the older people. And this country would flourish if they did, because our expectations, our enthusiasm, our knowledge, our experience, what we've gone through can all be so reflected on young people and make them feel stronger.
Learn more about ageism in Ireland at ihrec.ie from the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission. We're all human. We're all equal.
Join Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds for their Future of Farming 2024 and the Donegal Silage Awards evening on Wednesday 7th of February at 8 p.m. in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Learn from industry experts on the evening, including Finbar O'Regan from the Department of Agriculture, Conor Brown from the ICBF, Adam Woods from the Irish Farmers Journal, and guest judge Andrew Wright, better known as Farm Theory NI on YouTube and TikTok. For more information, visit homeland.ie.
In the final clearance of Watson Menswear, there's great savings across top labels. A great selection of footwear, shirts and knitwear, half price. Selected suits and kids' clothing, also half price. There's dress shirts, 2 for €40, and denims, 2 for just €70. Don't miss out on some great bargains in the final clearance now on at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Confirmation wear also now in stock.
Highland Radio are celebrating another birthday. We are inviting you to join us for our Highland Radio Birthday Bash on Tuesday the 19th of March in the Mount Erigal Hotel. Joined by the one and only Margot, myself David James, plus special guests Brendan Quinn, Declan Ernie and Patrick Feeney. This is a night not to be missed. Tickets on sale now. Why not treat yourself to one of our package deals, including dinner, bed and breakfast, plus your ticket to the show. For more information, visit the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We'll see you at the Highland Radio Birthday Bash.
Rightio, Donegal County Council has launched a county-wide recruitment drive for retained firefighters across Donegal. Up to 45 new retained firefighters are being recruited to fill vacancies to bring the total number of retained firefighters to 147 across our 15 retained fire stations. Hugh Gallagher is Senior Assistant Chief Fire Officer with Donegal County Council, and he joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Hugh.
Good morning, Greg, and I suppose first of all, thanks for the opportunity to get to discuss this important topic with your listeners.
No, it's great. So I suppose it's great to have you in. What is a retained firefighter, and what's the difference between our fire stations, just so we get a full understanding?
So
of it?
I suppose at present, Donegal has 147 firefighters at present, and this new recruitment drive will see an additional between 42 and 45 added to that. In terms of fire stations at the minute, currently we have 15 fire stations on the mainland, and we have 2 voluntary stations on the islands, with some of the stations, Letterkenny and Buncrana, currently serving at 15, and the remaining 13 currently at 9. So I'd say the purpose of this recruitment drive is to bring the single pump stations, which is the 13, from 9 to 12, and that will allow them then to have what's termed under the new agreement a week on and a flexible week. So the flexible week will be deemed to give them a period of time away from their alerter to take the responsibility off them, while knowing that there is a crew available to have time, as I say, time off with their family, that you don't have to leave family functions, you don't have to leave your work, you don't have to, I suppose, get out of bed at night and things like that.
So this is part of the resolution to the strikes that we saw last year?
That's right, yeah. It's overall as part of the agreement that came in, the WRC agreement that came in as part of that. And one of the things was that there would be an additional 3 people added to all of the single pump stations, and then the stations with more than 12 currently, the local authority does a business case then to maintain that.
All right, I mean, as part of the team that sort of runs the fire service, to have more personnel, it's good for you guys too.
Oh, definitely, yeah, it's good for us, but I think, you know, the focus on it definitely has to be in terms of the retained fireman. Like at present, you know, the retained fireman carries a pager, and he's responsible for alert for 24/7, unless, as I say, he's signed off at work. Now, when you take it that, I mean, like, as I say, I previously worked as a fireman myself, so when you take that, I mean, that interrupts. You know, it's part of your mind every single day. And, you know, as I say, when you're at work, you're thinking about it. When you're at home, you're thinking about it. When you're in bed, you know, it's there, it's on your headboard. And once that alert goes, I mean, we try to mobilise the brigade within 5 minutes, as I say, so to get a minimum of 6 to get the first appliance out the door, like within the 5 minutes, it's a massive, I suppose, task on people.
Just pardon my ignorance, why do we have the retained model? Like, why don't we have fire stations that are, you know, that there's people on shift all of the time?
I think just in terms of Donegal, you know, I suppose the number of calls and the risks that's there, it doesn't lead to having a full-time service.
Yeah.
As I say, I suppose, you know, there has to be like, not to talk about the money side of it, but it has to be value as well, like I say, for local authority.
No, everything comes down to many elements, including the cost benefit side of things. Right. So what? Well, we'll start from the beginning then. You know, what are the requirements in terms of you know, age? Is there
I think
fitness?
The biggest requirement, I think, first that people need to look at is the distance from your station, I suppose. Right. And, like, you know, I suppose in this recruitment drive, we've moved all stations to 3 kilometres. So you must live and work within 3 kilometres of your fire station. And I know that does sound restrictive, but I mean, like I say, as I mentioned before, about, like, we try to get a brigade out of the door within 5 minutes. So it has to be reflective of that. So as I say, that's that side of it.
Well, stay with that then, because I was going to come to that, but we'll stay with that. So you have to live and work within 3 kilometres.
That's right, yeah.
And in a month, or if I don't know what the cycle is, you know, under the new agreement, when would that not apply to you, if you know what I mean? So, like, is it a week on, week off, 2 weeks on, two?
Well,
so just
as
explain that one more time.
The termination is week on and then flexible week.
Okay.
So you'll have a week on call and then you'll have a flexible week. And the flexible week takes away your onus on you to respond to your pager. So as I said, you don't have to leave your work. You don't have to get out of your bed. You don't have to miss your family stuff.
But if we need extra units, then...
But if you wish that you want to attend to all your calls, you have the flexibility.
Okay.
That's why it's called a flexible week. You have the flexibility to attend or not.
So it's a week on, week off, week on, week flexible.
Week, yeah.
Okay, right. So and then in terms of if you need time off, family holiday, you're at a wedding.
Well, as I say, I suppose the overall the year's divided into 52 weeks, and then as I say, they're like all other employees. There's 4 weeks of annual leave, so again that can be booked in terms of that. And then there is the flexibility. If it is your week on, there is the flexibility there to swap with somebody on the week off, say, to maintain the crew of 6.
In terms of remuneration, what is the terms?
The big change this time is that there has been a move to change a lot of the monies earned to guaranteed monies, and I think that was primarily the issue that surrounded it. Like, it was only the retainer payment. I mean, if a starting fireman was on and around 8,500, whereas now the guaranteed payment now has moved to over, like, it's almost 19,000. It's about 18,950 or something like that. So when you get to that there, but there's also then additional earning opportunities then on top of that. So that would be the basic possible earnings, the minimum possible earnings that you can earn. But then there's additional things like there's training, there's special duties, there's community fire safety and stuff like that again, that can further increase the earnings that you have.
Right. Okay. So the minimum is just shy of 19, which is quite the advancement.
Yeah. And that doesn't, I suppose, include the changes that will come under the new pay agreements as well. So
yeah. Okay. So that's incremental increases. Coupled with the other things, so that's a significant bit of progress. Okay, so then in terms of we know the rates, we know how close you have to be, we know the working conditions on off, sort of on flexi off or flexi week. So what age categories are we talking?
Well, I think, as I say, we have to look at all categories of age first. Having been a retained fireman, I suppose, to join the brigade at a very young age, when you haven't maybe, I suppose what they say now, lived your life, is not maybe the best thing. But like for us, as I say, we definitely take applications from every person. The retirement age is set at 55. It can be extended based on medicals up as far as 60. So as I say, we do accept and we look forward to receiving applications from all walks of life. I think for us as a service, the way that we've changed even as a country, we're much more flexible and I suppose movable than what we were previously. So I don't think we're going to get the person that's in at the young age that's going to serve 35 to 40 years. I think we're going to have to be looking to target the person that that's 35, 40, 45 and be prepared that we're not going to get as long a span of life from them, but it's the person that's in the community that is settled, as I say, that isn't going to be going away. I suppose ideally them's the type of person that we would be looking to target.
With the changing conditions, it's not I don't think we're exploiting people who want to be very community minded or have a particular passion. Those people are there, and I think now rightfully they're going to be rewarded better for that. What type of person becomes a fireman, firewoman?
I think, with and I thought about this when I applied for it myself in 2011. What I suit the fire service, and I think what I have learned, every single person has something as a different element to bring to the brigade, and that's why that's why the crews function so well as a team. We're not all unique. We are all unique. There's nobody that we're not all doing the same thing. We all bring our own expertise, our own specialist trait that we can bring, and it helps us in all different situations. So I would say out there, anybody, can be a firefighter. And I think that's important to note, and that's where we want to get across. Anybody can be a firefighter. The level of training that's provided now has been brought up to a QQI level. So as I say, you do training on basic firefighting skills, you do training on breathing apparatus, you do training on RTCs, you do specific training on chemical incidents, hazardous materials, and you do specific training on pumps. So once you've completed that, as I say, you have the knowledge to be a firefighter. And then, you work along with the people then that has the experience, and that's where you gain that.
And I mean, the fire service are first responders. You mentioned road traffic collisions there, fires, often, very stressful situations. Do you need a certain type of personality? I don't think you ever get used to stuff, but do you need a certain...
I think, where I would come from in that, I suppose, first of all, in terms of the incidents that we attend, we'd run a program called CISM, which is Critical Incident Stress Management, and that deals with, to making sure, in terms of the aftermath side of it, to make sure that everybody is aware of what everybody has done, what they have went through, and as I say, we respond as a crew and you recover as a crew, which is extremely important. Now, in terms of the incidents that we attend, and again, I suppose being able to speak about it, and I have been at some incidents like that, you're trained and you have a specific level of training and you have a specific role to do, and you go there and you do that role, and when you have that role complete, everything is effectively done and dusted. So you're there, you're not on your own, you're as part of a crew, and when you're doing that, you don't get the opportunity to take on board what people may see, like, if you see something on TV or something like that, where you get a chance to sit and look at it, you're not standing looking, you're doing your job, you're doing your role, and you're helping.
And you go into work mode, and you say the training is there.
Mode. That's right, you go into work mode.
Is there any women in the fire service in Donegal at the moment?
Not at present in Donegal. Right. And, as I say, I thought about this, I suppose, on the way up the road, and it's definitely something that we want to see. We want to see applications from females. We have had applications from females in the past, and they have came and they have done their assessments and they have passed their assessments, and there seems to be, I suppose, the next element, whether it's they have changed their mind or whatever it is. But like, I definitely would like to say I have, in other counties, I have worked with female firefighters, I have trained with female firefighters, and they are equally, as good as the male side of it. And it's definitely something that we want to see in Donegal. I
mean, obviously, you don't want to have a fear of heights. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You have to be available there you have to be able there to pass the training.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? There are markers.
And that is part of it. I mean, your first step in the recruitment side is to fill in your application form, and once you submit that, then everybody's invited then to Letterkenny Fire Station, which is the headquarters for the county, to do recruit assessments, and they're set out around 6 different skills, and them skills basically determines, are you suitable for the fire service, and one of them includes climbing the 13.5 ladder to the top of the tower.
No bother.
So no bother, yeah.
And like, say for instance, would you advise someone who's interested in applying to speak to their employer first?
Well, because in terms of the employer, and I think that's a very important point that you bring up, and I suppose from my own perspective, what I would be saying to them is definitely speak to your employer. Primarily most of our calls is evening times, nights and weekends. So the impact that it has on the daily working life of a person is extremely limited. Like, surely there's periods of time, particularly in gorse fire, where things can maybe get a slightly, more busier for a very short period of time. But I think, and first of all, I suppose, thanks to the employers that currently employ firefighters from Donegal. And as I say, that is a massive thanks, I suppose, from the county. But in terms of existing or new people that wants to apply, I mean, I would urge employers to consider not just not the negative side that this person might be attending a call every so often, but the training that they bring, the speciality that they bring to their person, in terms of the training that they provide. I mean, the training that's provided by the fire service doesn't stop at the gate when you leave the station. Like, you carry that with you in, as I say, in all walks of your life, including your employment.
Listener is colourblind. Does that preclude them?
Well, indeed, yes.
Okay, that's one of the things. Is there anything obvious beyond that?
I suppose, as I say, the assessments that we provide, so there'll be, as you said, like the height side of it.
Physical.
There's confined space side of it. There's strength tests. There's fitness tests, as I say, and then there's a reading and a listening or written comprehension side of it as well.
Okay, and if anyone wants to apply in the first instance, well, you can go to the website donegalcoco.ie, where there's an information document which goes through, I'd say, a lot of what we've been discussing. Why join your local fire brigade? made. And the application process is open until February 19th, so not that far away. 12 noon on Monday, February 19th. So you're hoping that the likes of this conversation might just plant a fire, but you know what I mean, plant a seed.
That's right. The likes of this conversation, as I say, I was a fireman myself, so I'm talking from experience. The job itself, as I say, it's more than just a job. It's a role. It's very rewarding. It's very well respected within your community. And I suppose I would like people to think like when they're looking at the advertisements that if it's not them that applies, then who's it going to be? Because it is extremely important to have a fire service in your community. From the recruitment side of it now, I suppose we've got a massive social media presence. We will be putting up posters and flyers, as I say, from all stations around the county, and then there's scheduled open nights for each station. And again, we urge anybody that has any level of interest in applying to definitely come to them to the open nights. They'll get a chance to meet the crew, they'll get a chance to see appliances, equipment, etc., and chat to people that are loving the role every single day.
Yes.
And I think that's extremely important for them.
Hugh, listen, it's been really interesting and informative, of course, and we hope there's a great response. Hugh Gallagher, Senior Assistant Chief Fire Officer with Donegal County Council, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a million, Greg.
Back with more shortly.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com. Are you tired of how you feel? Despite diet and exercise, are you struggling to lose weight? Do you need help to achieve your weight loss goals? At Letterkenny Medics Private Clinic, we are offering a free consultation to ascertain if you are suitable for treatment on our weight management program. All consultations are confidential and completed by an experienced doctor. We are open 7 days per week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to facilitate your needs. To book an appointment, go to letterkennymedics.ie. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
We all love to get the most out of things, like a sunny day while it lasts. In Ireland, it can be hard to get enough vitamin D from the sun. But did you know that 90% of us also don't get enough vitamin D from the food we eat? The great news is Avonmore Supermilk is fortified with vitamin D, helping us to absorb calcium for healthy bones and supporting the immune system too. Avonmore Supermilk, the most super our milk can be. Figures based on FSAI 2023 vitamin D study.
Discover the ultimate experience in the Spad Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel Bundoran with our tranquil Japanese-themed garden, rejuvenating massages, revitalizing facials, luxurious spa baths, pampering body treatments, not forgetting the outdoor hot tub and sauna in our secret garden. Visit on a luxury spa day, pop in for some me time, or buy the perfect present with a gift voucher. Relax and let the Spad Orchids transport you to another world. For more, see holyroodhotel.com.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Overgrown hedges, shrubs and trees along public roads can become a danger to people using or working on a public road. Donegal County Council is reminding landowners and occupiers of their obligations to trim hedges and trees beside the public road. This should be done before the bird nesting season commences in early March. Donegal County Council thanks the many members of the public who have already carried this work out. Donegal County Council, protecting our communities and environment.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, the weather forecast. Wednesday morning will be cold with frost and icy stretches. Dry and calm with high, hazy sunshine for much of the day. Cold with highest temperatures of just 4 to 5 degrees with light northwest breezes. Frost and ice setting in for a time tonight under clear skies. Temperatures -3 to 0 degrees. So please be careful travelling tomorrow morning. And there is a yellow... status yellow snow ice warning for Donegal. Matern says a band of rain will turn increasingly to sleet and snow on Thursday. Ice and untreated services, hazardous driving conditions, travel disruption, poor disability. That's valid from 11 a.m. Thursday to 8 p.m. Thursday. And on Friday, I thought quite interesting, there's no warning for Donegal, but they've issued a weather warning for Northern Ireland. Yellow snow warning for Antrim, Armagh, Down, Fermanagh, Tyrone and Derry. How we avoid that in Donegal, I don't know. But anyway, it's quite interesting just to see the 6 counties, in inverted commas, getting their own separate Met-Éireann weather warning. But for us, Thursday into Friday could be quite tricky for a short while. Anyway, that's what we're being told. We were also told last weekend was calm. It wasn't calm, it was breezy. Right, some of your comments as we head towards the news at 10. There isn't enough reserves of battery minerals in the world to back up intermittent wind energy. Mining for wind and batteries is as bad as mining for fossil fuels. It's all digging. We have to change the way we live to slow down climate change, but people don't want to do that. But listen, this is not a counter-argument, but digging and mining is not necessarily the big problem for the environment. It's the emissions, isn't it? And over the course of the lifetime of a car, studies have found just the lifetime of a car, it's not too long before it is better for the environment than a petrol diesel car, even given the manufacturing of batteries and what have you. I read a study to that regard. Thanks, Greg. Wind has not put down the price of electricity. As for building turbines on peat in Donegal, what nonsense in terms of carbon release in face of climate change. That does seem to be a strange practice. What planet is this guy on? Re-energy prices. We have the highest electricity prices in Europe, coupled to gas prices. These prices are always going to be higher. Irish consumers ripped off prices were cheaper before we allowed competition in electricity supply. It doesn't stack up, they say. There is no climate crisis, says a listener. It's proven by real climate experts, not funded by corrupt organisations like the UN, US, EU, WEF, CFR, etc., who bribe failed scientists to provide the results they want to use a controlled mechanism to restrict our freedoms, says a listener. I don't see how it restricts our freedoms, but anyway, that's your view. I think really, if you have a particular point of view, you can find an expert to which you can align those views. Greg, biggest lie I was told when I was younger was that Ireland is the land of saints and scholars. Didn't take long to discover it was a country full of snakes and crawlers. Okay. Greg, my siblings have a lot to answer for growing up as a Connolly. I was told Billy Connolly was my uncle and also would often be challenged to beat my previous time to get a bucket of coal in. Okay. I like that. Any more like that? What was the fibs or lies? Oh, we'll stick with fibs. What were the fibs you were told as a young person by siblings or parents that you actually believed for quite some time? This person's name was Connolly, and they were told Billy Connolly was my uncle. All right, okay, brilliant. And on it goes. We have a few more of those, actually, some quite funny ones coming in, so keep them coming in. What was the fib that you believed as a child that you can sort of laugh at now looking back? Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and due this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
On March 8th, we'll be asked to vote in 2 referendums. The first referendum is about how our Constitution recognises families, and the second proposes to replace existing wording with new text to provide recognition for care within families. A booklet explaining the 2 amendments will be delivered to homes across Ireland, or see electoralcommission.ie/referendums. Your vote is your voice, so be a voter on March 8th. From Uncommission Thaucon, Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission.
Welcome to Boots. How can we help? Is it normal that it stings when I want to support my immune system?
With a fungal nail infection. And why can't I maintain my
Earwax build-up and
my retreating hairline? Maybe my blood pressure's
light, regular or super plus?
Whatever your question, ask a pharmacist first and get advice without needing an appointment. Boots, with you for life. See boots.ie for details.
The way you eat a cream egg says everything about you. If you eat yours by cracking it open like an egg, that means you're a bit punchy. You don't whisper in the cinema. You've been known to cut your own fringe. And you never get jet lag. Search Cream Egg Test to find out who you really are. Cadbury Cream Egg. How do you eat yours?
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The DUP leader says Mary Lou McDonald must have the longest arms on the island if she thinks a united Ireland is within touching distance. The Sinn Féin leader last week claimed Irish unity is now close as she celebrated her party assuming the role of Stormont First Minister for the first time. But DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson says that assertion is totally wrong.
Well, unless Mary Lou McDonald has the longest arms on this island, I don't think she's anywhere close to touching distance. And as for the 10 years, look, Gerry Adams once predicted there would be a united Ireland by 2016. We're almost 10 years on from that, and we're nowhere near a united Ireland.
The Atlantic Technological University is to receive €20 million to enhance research and innovation opportunities. It's part of an €84 million allocation announced today by Further and Higher Education Minister Simon Harris. The programme will establish, equip and staff regional research and innovation offices within 2Us to enable deepened engagement with local and regional business, industry and enterprise stakeholders. Changes to the county development plan agreed yesterday may make it easier to obtain planning permission in rural areas of Donegal. Under the current plan, areas which saw a decline in population were classified as weaker rural areas, while in what was known as stronger rural areas proved more difficult to secure planning permission in. It was agreed by members yesterday that the two be amalgamated and designated weaker rural areas under the new county development plan. The changes now have to be agreed by the planning regulator, but Councillor Liam Blaney is hopeful of a positive outcome.
It should make it easier for local people to be able to get planning from the county. But look, it has to go yet in front of the regulator, it has to go in front of the minister, and there's no guarantee that it's going to stay there. But I'm glad with the outcome of the meeting, and I'm glad the way that we finished the meeting and that the executive was in the right place for us, and that they did work with us to try and get the best outcome that we thought that we could get possible out of it.
The Taoiseach says those responsible for the recent arson attacks around the country will be pursued and tracked down by Gardaí. Micheál Martin says there's no escape from punishment as a building rumoured to be used for asylum seekers was set alight in Dublin on Sunday. He says these types of attacks go against the grain of our democracy and anyone involved will be brought to justice.
We will pursue those who are doing this, and we don't deal with, as political leaders, we don't deal with the operational issues in terms of investigations and so on, but I've no doubt that the Gardaí are doing everything they possibly can to track the people who are committing these crimes.
The Donegal executive of Fianna Fáil has written to party headquarters appealing for Senator Niall Blaney to be added to the ticket in the European Parliament elections. Senator Blaney narrowly missed out on selection with just 71 votes between him and Laois Offaly TD Barry Kyan, who will contest the election for the Midlands North West constituency. Andrew Louth reports.
The Fianna Fáil Donegal Corley Dáil Counter has sent a letter on behalf of the executive and the membership appealing to the party headquarters to add Senator Niall Blaney to the Fianna Fáil ticket in the Midlands North West European Parliament election. Senator Blaney received a total of 1,071 votes, just behind Deputy Barry Cowan's 1,142 votes. It's believed the party is considering running a second candidate in the region. In its letter, the Donegal executive says it is the view of the party in Donegal that the addition of Senator Blaney will ensure a strong performance in the European elections and afford Fianna Fáil the opportunity to win 2 seats. Sligo Corley Dáil Counter has also written to the Fianna Fáil headquarters stating that they are backing Senator Blaney for Europe and encourage the Senator's addition to the ticket.
Gardaí have conducted a checkpoint outside Duncanely National School where serious safety concerns have repeatedly been raised. Most recently, a video shows a number of motorists ignoring the red light signal at the crossing outside the school while a mother and her child waited to cross. The Donegal Town Roads Policing Unit yesterday carried out a speed check at the school and observed driver behaviour at the traffic lights. One driver was caught travelling at 69 kilometres per hour in the 50 km per hour zone. And finally, ESB is working to restore power in the Moville area. Over 100 customers are affected by a power outage. It's expected power will be restored by 2:30 this afternoon. Weather now cold this morning with frost and icy stretches. It will be dry and calm with hazy sunshine for much of the day. Highest temperatures of 4 or 5 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, February the 7th. The death has taken place of Joseph Wilkie, West Palm Beach, Florida, and formerly from Dromore, Letterkenny. Joseph's remains will be reposing at the family home in Dromore today, which is private to immediate family only, please. Wake tomorrow from 12 noon until Rosary at 9 o'clock. Family time after the Rosary and on the morning of the funeral, please. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in the family plot in New Lex Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust to care of any family member. The death has occurred of Fonzie Crawford, 235 St Eunan's Terrace, Refoe, County Donegal. Fonzie will be reposing at his late residence all day today. Family time from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Funeral leaving his late residence tomorrow afternoon at 22:02, going to St Eunan's Church, Refoe for 2 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed online via the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Cancer Care West, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Michael McGonigal, Barraville, Skeg Road, Derry and formerly O'Gara Villas, Moville. Michael's remains are reposing at the home of his sister Mary Doherty, 25 Culleen Park, Culmore, Derry. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by burial in Ballybrack Graveyard. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on movilleparish.com. The death has occurred of Mark Quinn, Guest House End, Refoe, County Donegal. Mark will be reposing at Kelly's funeral home, Oakfield, Refoe, today from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Rosary at 9 o'clock tonight. Funeral cortege will be leaving Kelly's funeral home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed online via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Dr. William McCauley, Roblin, Manitoba, Canada, formerly Rosebank, Moville. A celebration of Billy's life will take place on the return of his ashes to Ireland. The death has taken place of Bernie Clinton, 16 Brackengate, Strabane and Clagan, Portsalon, Fanid, reposing at her home in Clagan, Portsalon, Fanid. House private to family and close friends. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Massmount, Fanid. Burial afterwards in Massmount Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to Arthritis Ireland, care of any family member. The death has occurred of John Alexander, The Park, Balnacore, Crossroads, Killygordon. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from his late residence tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. Family time from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. The death has occurred of Jimmy O'Donnell, Old Golf Course Road, Donegal Town, and formerly of Crahy, Dunlow. Funeral mass this morning at 11 o'clock at St Patrick's Church at Donegal Town, with burial afterwards in Clark Churchyard. House private, please. The funeral mass will be live streamed on the parish webcam. And the death has taken place of Peg Dugan, Lower Door, Bombay. Funeral mass this morning at 11 o'clock at St Mary's Church, Derrybeg. Interment afterwards in Mahragallen Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Roti Funeral Director's Facebook page. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Oh, Amy, my little one. I ask myself a million questions every day. When will you give me your first smile? How much sleep do you need? How can I help you and your big brother to get along?
At the HSE's mychild.ie and in the free My Child books, you'll find the answers you need from doctors, midwives, public health nurses, dietitians and lots of other experts. mychild.ie. Expert advice for every step of pregnancy, baby and toddler health. From the HSE.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. How you're keeping this morning. It's good to have you on board, and hopefully you're with us for the next couple of hours. We've got plenty to keep you informed and entertained. 086 60 25,000. Keep your calls and comments coming into us. Your calls to 07491 25,000. Right, I've been asked to mention that there is a pop-up community cafe which is taking place in the Letterkenny Baptist Church on the Port Road on Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a warm space, a warm welcome with free tea, coffee, pre-loved winter coats available as well. So if you want to go to the pop-up community cafe, it's in the Letterkenny Baptist Church, Port Road on Friday the 9th of February between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. And as I say, it's a warm and welcome environment for free tea, coffee, scones and hot soup, and they've got a quantity of winter coats for all ages, free to whoever might need one. Okay, so right, a caller says our fire officers have been a great contribution to Donegal in recent years, attending a number of road incidents, of which there have been many in Donegal house fires and of course the Creaslough explosion. Indeed, they contribute so much indeed, and for some it's going to be a really exciting opportunity to be a part of that and to be able to contribute in that way to your local community. A caller says we can't build safe houses in Ireland. Why would we continents building a nuclear station? Incredible. I get your point and your reference. 60s global warning, 70s impending ice age, 80s acid rain, 90s ozone layer, the noughties onwards, climate change with a twist, CO2. It took off this time. The world is dangerously low on carbon. There's different types of carbon. I've taken your point and I've read up on that, but I don't want to get into it because it's not for me. Everyone has to sort of take individual responsibility, but some would say you can't really because you are compelled into doing stuff. Right, okay. Now, Highland Radio, in conjunction with the HSC, are continuing to be delighted to be part of the Dementia Understand Together campaign. There are 6 simple actions we can take to support someone with dementia, and I'll give you some examples. See the person and not the dementia. Talk about dementia. Stay in touch. Ask how you can help someone. Support the person to keep up hobbies and interests, which is vitally important, to make sure your service or space is easy to use. Now, for more information and support, you can free phone 1800 341 341 or visit understandtogether.ie. And here's a little bit more information for you.
We all understand the importance of social interaction, being with each other, connecting and sharing experiences. But did you know social interaction plays a key role in helping people who are living with dementia? It's healthy, like exercise for the brain. And it supports well-being, which has positive benefits for the person. Staying socially engaged with friends and family has also been shown to boost self-esteem. A dementia-inclusive community enables people who are living with dementia to do just that, to live. Whether that's staying connected to or joining a club, taking up a hobby or visiting their local shop. Being with each other to talk and share experiences nurtures the soul and gives a sense of belonging. You can be that connection. Display the National Dementia Inclusive Community symbol in your organisation, community group or club. By displaying the symbol, you are helping to build dementia-inclusive communities and showing that people with dementia and their loved ones are supported in your area. For free training and more information, visit understandtogether.ie or call the national helpline provided by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland on free phone 1800 341 341 from the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 7th of February. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S8. It's game number 6. The numbers are 31, 73, 58, 9, 41, 64, 68, 1, 67, and finally 62. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of a butcher cutting through his costs. A tech company developing their sustainability plan. And a brewery getting production flowing nicely. It's all in a day's work for small businesses all across Ireland. So whatever your business, your local enterprise office is here to help you save time, money and energy. To see how, visit allinadayswork.ie. Brought to you by your local enterprise office and supported by Enterprise Ireland and the local authorities, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer. 25 kg bags, buy 10, get 1 free. And €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold and ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists. Dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme now. The Independent Information Campaign for the two March 8th referendums recently launched with a commitment from Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission on Commission Tayahan that people can depend on the Electoral Commission for independent, clear and accessible information. The chair of the commission is Ms Justice Marie Baker, and Ms Justice joins us on the line now. Thank you very much for your time today.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me on, Greg.
No, it's good to have you on. Okay, so what is your role as you see it in the lead up to these referendum?
My role is as chair of the Comisiún Táchán, the Electoral Commission, specifically with regard to referendums, to explain the subject matter of the referendum. That's what the Act says. So it's for me to inform in an impartial and objective and non-political way what the subject matter of the referendum is, what it means, and what it will mean if people vote yes, or what it will mean if people vote no. So I'm engaged, and I'm delighted to be on the radio because I'm engaged in this information campaign, and we want to spread it as far as possible. And thank you very much for having me on.
No, it's good to have you on. Is there a challenge in this day and age to sort of establish and prove your impartiality? It's a more complicated job that you have now, I think, that might have been 10 or 15 years ago, or maybe you see it as different.
Well, there was always a referendum commission. They were established ad hoc. So every time there was a referendum, a judge took over chairing a body that assessed the meaning of the referendum, and he or she helped in the preparation of documents and the leaflet that went out to everybody, and did some radio interviews like I'm doing now. there's a lot of debate around this referendum, and of course there will be debate around what I say, and there'll be debate around what the Commission says on its website and what we say on the booklet. So far, I haven't heard anybody say that we're not impartial, and I hope that we are impartial and objective. But the debate then and the opinions that are expressed, well, that's fine. Let people debate. It's good to see it.
Before we talk about what we're actually being asked to decide on, is some of the concern seems to be that we vote on one thing and then down the line it's challenged or interpreted, or it ends up being something different than what we actually voted on. I mean, can you see that as being a valid point? Is that unavoidable? You would know a lot of the arguments that have been having.
It's a really good question, but it has a very long answer. Let me just explain first what constitutions do. They set out in general terms the principles behind which legislation must be tested and which informs what the legislation should contain. So if there are issues, sometimes they go to court, but the court doesn't just look into its own heart and say, oh, I think this is what it means. It's not for the court to say, oh, this is what will make us popular, this is what people generally think. Language in the Constitution is interpreted in accordance with the whole jurisprudence of how we interpret particular words, where the particular word is found in the Constitution, what meaning was found for those words in the past, and what the court thinks it means in the context in which it's found. So essentially, this particular referendum, these two referendums, are proposing changes to Article 41. Article 41 is part of the fundamental rights of the Irish in the Irish Constitution. They form the foundation for those rights. In other words, the starting point to understand them. They're an expression of principle and policy, and they are also the ground against which legislation is tested. But the Constitution is stated in such general terms that unless there's legislation, the generality remains. And it really is for the Oireachtas to take a particular constitutional provision and make legislation to deal with the requirements that particular constitution requires. Look what happened in the O'Mara case. I'm sure you came across this in the last week or two. Mr. O'Mara was living long-term with his partner. They had 3 children. She died of COVID, in fact, tragically. And he applied for widower's pension, and he was told he couldn't get widower's pension because they weren't married. And he brought a constitutional challenge. He said, I am a family in the Constitution, and the court said no. And this is where this referendum can be easily explained. The court said that the family in the Constitution, which has special recognition as a unit in society, is the family founded on marriage. And the court said it's not for us to say that Irish people want it one way or the other. It's for us to interpret what it means in the Constitution.
But does that not at the same time,
judges,
I beg your pardon, does that not though prove at the same time there is no need for a referendum because the right outcome was arrived at, it was challenged, and it was found in Mr. O'Mara's favour?
Remember, he lost on his argument that he was a constitutional family. He won because the court held that it was an unequal application of social welfare payments. Because oddly enough, the widower's pension was payable to somebody who was divorced. So the court said there's an irrationality and inequality here, and he's entitled to be paid. But you could say that he won his case, and why do we have this referendum? The government decided to have the referendum. The Oireachtas passed the legislation that we would have a referendum. The O'Mara case was delivered 2 days before the act was passed in the Oireachtas. You could say that Mr. O'Mara anybody like Mr. O'Mara would win, but remember, to win an equality argument under the Constitution, you have to have a comparison. You have to say, I'm the same as that person, and my rights were not respected in the same way. Mr. Mara was able to do that. Not everybody wins an equality argument. They're harder to win than you think.
Mm-hmm. So,
there was a case last year where somebody didn't win one.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of...
I'm not saying whether the referendum...
Yeah,
I'm really sorry.
No, Miss Justice, I beg your pardon.
A radio interview is difficult on the phone because I can't see you.
And I'll tell you another problem we have. There is a minor delay on the line, so it might appear like I'm cutting across you. That really is not my intention. So I'm going to take longer pauses.
Well, I might cut across you too.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we won't need a referendum to sort that out. We could do it amongst ourselves. Can you talk to us about the white-coloured...
We just need different radios.
Yes, the white-coloured ballot paper. Can you talk to us about that?
The white-coloured ballot paper is this, the family referendum, and I'll just say what it says. As I've just explained to you, the family in the Constitution now, the family unit, which is entitled to recognition as a special unit of society, is the unit based on marriage. It's proposed to add to that the state will recognise a family unit founded on other durable relationships, without defining durable relationships, but other durable relationships. It does, however, provide that the current recognition of marriage as an institution which requires special care will remain in place. So it's not displacing marriage, it's changing the concept of the family and allowing the courts and the Oireachtas, when it's passing legislation, to pass legislation or to test legislation in the light of the meaning of the family as including other durable relationships and not just marriage. So that's what that's proposing to do. That's the white ballot paper, and you can vote tall or kneel to that. And if you vote no, nothing changes. If you vote yes, the meaning of the constitutional family, as I'm calling it, will be extended beyond the marital family.
And Miss Justice, how do we...
Now, it sounds very straightforward.
It is, but
it's not.
Of course it isn't. And maybe just for your opinion or not, or if this is not really in your role, the problem is that in deciding which way to vote, I feel like I really don't know sometimes what I'm voting on, because I've heard arguments that I should vote no because to maintain the status quo. If I vote yes, we could, that's all of a bit of a nonsense argument. I think about thruples and all that kind of stuff, or a Christmas card could define a durable couple. Like, I want to vote on what I see as quite simple wording, but I'm struggling. Hypothetically, I'm struggling which way to vote, because really the argument's about what could happen.
Well, what could happen, I'll do my best to explain this without giving you an opinion. What could happen will depend on how the Oireachtas, first of all, understands this and what legislation is passed, and then if the legislation is tested, what the courts say it means. Let me just tell you what a context for durable relationships without telling you what it'll inevitably mean in legislation. The word is not found already in the Constitution, so it's a new expression in the Constitution, and it's not defined. It's not a new expression in our law, so it exists in European law, and we have words a bit like it in the cohabitation legislation. So the cohabitation legislation recognises that people who live together, who cohabit now, so who live together in an intimate relationship. It is two people in an intimate relationship, and where the relationship is committed and where the relationship is intended to endure, that they are entitled to certain rights as cohabitants. So it may be that the Oireachtas would look at that and say, well, that's the kind of thing we want to do now. We want to recognise durable relationships of that type. I don't know where it will go. I agree with you that the argument around triples is really at the margins. And it really, this case isn't, this particular constitutional referendum is about a lot of things. It's about what durable relationships will be understood to mean when legislation happens. But we do know, for example, that the Constitution prohibits polygamy. The Constitution defines marriage as a relationship between two people, irrespective of their sex. The cohabiting legislation recognises cohabitation of two people. So maybe the Oireachtas will say something else, but we know what has happened to date, and people can take their own view about what's likely to happen in the future.
I think
Remember,
really
we're looking here.
I think the throuple argument is a bit of a smokescreen. Really what people are saying is that I could claim to have 3 wives spread across the continent and argue...
You can't,
I know,
actually.
but that's the argument, you understand. But then I could challenge the Constitution because it could be seen as contradictory, and the changes might benefit me in bringing my 3 wives
You
here.
find it very hard to challenge the Constitution, really. The courts can't change the Constitution. The courts will look at the Constitution in its context. And given that marriage is defined in the Constitution, and we went to the trouble of passing a referendum a few years ago to allow same-sex couples to marry, but it was 2 people. So it's likely that everybody will look at that when they're looking at durable relationships, and it's likely that the Oireachtas will. But I can't tell you that.
Of course.
I'm telling you they are the legal context within which this happens. But I can tell you that there was a case of a person who claimed to have 2 wives in Ireland, and the court said you can't have 2 wives in Ireland. You can only have 1. The first wife is your wife. The second wife you can't lawfully marry.
And how would that work with cohabiting?
No, cohabiting couples under the Act are 2 people.
Okay. I'm not challenging. My questions are actually to help me understand the confines of what we're voting on, which is really, I think, really quite interesting because there's a lot of different noise out there. Okay, the care amendment, Ms. Justice.
Right, the care amendment. I think the noise, to be frank, I think it's good that people have these debates and let people talk to one another about what they mean about relationships and what they mean about polygamy and open relationships and all of that. Let people talk about it. I certainly have heard some interesting debates and I'm glad to hear them. I'm not expressing my view, but I'm glad to hear them because we need to think this through and what our Constitution should say. Now, go to the care amendment. This is, in a way, easier because what it proposes is to entirely delete 2 parts of the Constitution. The present provision, which is called the Women in the Home provision, says that the state recognises that by the work that women do at home, they support the common good and society. And goes on then to say that the state will endeavour to ensure that mothers, not women, but mothers, shall not be obliged to go out to work to the detriment of their duties in the home. That's the word in the Constitution. That doesn't mean that women must stay at home. It doesn't mean women's place is in the home. It doesn't mean women have no place in the workforce. And in fact, it absolutely doesn't mean that, because later in the Constitution, in Article 45, the Constitution actually recognises that men and women are economic actors. In other words, they form part of the economy. And the state pledges to ensure that the strength of and health of workers, men and women, will not be abused. So this proposal is to entirely delete that reference to care by women in the home and care by mothers care by mothers at home, and to replace it with a broader definition of who's giving the care, as it were. And it's proposed that the state will recognise that the provision of care by members of a family to one another, by reason of their love for one another, is an essential support for the common good and an essential structure in society, and that the state will strive to support that provision. So it's, as it were, gender neutral. It's not mothers and women, it's any member of a family that provides care to one another. And the proposal there would remove the existing 41.2.1 and 41.2.2 and replace it with a brand new provision, which in fact would be called 42B. The location of it, there's been a debate around the location of it. I have nothing to add about that. That's just where it's proposed to be put.
Okay, that's a more interesting one too. I find it easy maybe to. I find it easier. No, it's very informative because I mean, like I would have been amongst many people out there that was a sole parent for children, and often felt like it wasn't recognised or it was special in a particular way or whatever. So everyone's got loads of different views on that. Okay, the important thing is
they do. I think, yeah.
I think the important thing is that we actually have debates. I think sometimes, and this is just a general point, sometimes we can be so set in our views that we don't expose ourselves to other people's opinions. And I think you've highlighted the importance of hosting debates, having debates, exchanging views, and coming up with your own opinion, and not just sort of taking the opinion of what you see as a trusted source, be that me or anyone out there for that matter. It's really important that people genuinely make up their own minds.
I think that's true. And you make up your mind best if you know the facts and if you know what it says. So you make up your mind best by being clear. And, for example, to say that if we remove the reference to women in the home, there'll be no more mention of women in the Constitution. Actually, that's not the case. There is a reference in Article 45. But if you look at the Irish text, which is the main text, it's the predominant text, it says dinna everywhere rather than man. So it's important that people read what it says, read what's proposed, and then listen to the debate. I'm finding the debate engaging, and I think you are too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Ms. Justice Marie Baker, thank you so much for your time on what is a complex issue, but laid it out really well for us, and I do appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
I'll have a working day. Thank you.
Work can be wonderful, Marie. Ms. Justice, thank you.
Work is wonderful. It is.
Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. That is Ms. Justice Marie Baker, Chair of On Commission Toichan. And that was to talk about what is to change, not to debate one way or other within it. We will have that. We'll host that, so don't worry about that. I just really think it's critical that it is really well informed, because we make some big decisions as people. How does the durable relationship have to have a timeline? For example, how long must you cohabitate? Well, that is for a matter for post-referendum to be determined. I mean, at the moment, when is there are, I think, this is not my expectation, not sure if it'll be used, there are ways of determining a cohabiting couple, a civil partnership and all that kind of stuff. How do you prove an intimate relationship? Well, again, that's already there are already scenarios in terms of declarations that you have to make in certain areas as well. So that's nothing new there either. Impartial, don't make me laugh. It's all about what way the government want you to vote, all disguised by a plethora of clever woke phrases and extreme examples to win their argument. But there are extreme examples everywhere, isn't there? The legal people are an ever-ending gravy train, no matter what, in my opinion. Challenges to whatever the argument may be. Great profession. Don't trust what the government are doing. They sneaked it through the Senate. We seem to be going the way of the UK. Is it true the name woman and mother will be removed, and why can't they stay? Well, you've just heard Ms. Justice reference that in these articles. As I say, in relation to that one, the care in the home, there are a lot of fellas out there that are the carer for their children. Or what have you, for whatever reason, be it a bereavement or a separation or what have you, are they not? Do they not have the right to be equally recognised in the Constitution and society? Good morning, Greg. I'm interested to know if there will be a referendum on the new hate speech bill. That's actually a good question. I don't believe there is there? Democracy demands a referendum on the new EU Migration Pact under Article 2947 of the Constitution. Ireland can exercise the legal right to opt out of EU immigration policies under the Lisbon Treaty. Only a referendum can change this fact. But again, do I not reference the comments from Leo Varadkar that they are choosing the opt-out that's there, which means that you pay rather than receive immigrants? Is that not an opt-out of sorts as well? Maybe that doesn't go far enough for you. I don't know. What do you think? 08660 25,000. Okay, let us take a quick break. We're going to be back actually with some of the fibs that you were told as a child. Some of them really quite funny. I love the siblings telling the young Connolly fella that their uncle was Billy Connolly. Anyway, you've kept us really busy on that. I'll come back with some of those after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists. Dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Across a wide range of categories, the 2024 .ie Digital Town Awards are a chance to showcase your town's digital project. Apply now at digitaltownawards.ie. Brought to you by .ie, Ireland's National Domain Registry. Terms and conditions apply.
Harkins have been providing customers with quality fireplaces, stoves and electric fires for over 30 years. And now you can experience the elegance of luxurious worktop from Harkins. Their experienced craftsmen can fabricate marble, quartz or granite worktops to your specification. So, if you're planning a new kitchen or bathroom or upgrading your existing one, Harkin Fireplaces can provide a quote for your quartz, marble or granite worktop. Visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford or call 9141109 or visit them online at harkinfireplaces.ie.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens, and suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates, Solicitors, Stranraer.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Declan Ernie and Brendan Shine at Angrinnan Theatre, Letterkenny on Thursday, February 29th. Tickets on sale at Angrinnan Box Office. That's Mike Denver with Declan Ernie and Brendan Shine at Angrinnan Theatre, Letterkenny on Thursday, February 29th. Don't miss a great concert.
Okay, so we were talking about fibs you were told as a child. Let's go through some of them. Ailish was told, if you don't eat your crusts, the crust man will come and take you away. Oh, God, do we still do things like that? No. Catherine says, if we don't eat our crusts, you wouldn't have curly hair. Well, that's what happened. Mum used to cut my crusts off. Sarah says, my brother used to have me crying every night. As he said, as I went to sleep, a big ladder came from the moon and he got to go up and swim in chocolate swimming pools and play with aliens. And boy, did I cry every night. So you thought when you fell asleep, he was away up to the moon. Mary Teresa, if you eat your crust, you'll have curly hair when you turn 3. One of many. The crusts getting a lot of a run out here. Deirdre says, I told my son and my niece the birds are actually spy birds and they tell you if they've been bold or bad. A wee birdie told me. My niece used to go mad because the spy birds would tell her mum what she'd been up to in my house. Okay. David was told a robin is Santa's bird, and I was found under a head of cabbage, she was told. What age did you stop believing that, though? Angel was told if you don't brush your teeth, worms will come out. Well, I was told that, funny, that one about if you pick your nose and eat it, it would give you worms. So I had that one. Gary, whatever you didn't like eating, maybe a certain veg, etc., you were told, get it into you, it'll put hairs on your chest. I don't want hairs on my chest. It's puberty, and guess what? Airy chest, okay, and that's Gary there. Maureen, if you went out after dark, the fairies would get you. Teresa was told if you pick your nose, it's really your brain. You won't be smart when bigger. Okay, that's a different one. I'm not sure if that's better or worse than my worms one. Lisa, if you're bad, you'll go to jail and all you'll get is burnt toast and water. Definitely a fib. Of course, they get Sky TV, BT Sports and everything. And funny, Garda Granny was in with us one time and said it was a bit of a joke that parents make children afraid of the guards. Like, if you do that, the guards will come, and that when they get older, then they've got this view of guards that may not be actually... Roisin was told, don't pick your nose, your eyeballs will fall out. Ooh. Fiona, if you eat carrots, you'll be able to see in the dark. I still believe that one. Suzanne, chewing gum was made from rats' tails. Yeah, I was told about chewing gum that if I used chewing gum, that if I swallowed it, it would get wrapped around my tonsils or something. Helen, the hamster lie, I'm not sure about that. Just a couple more before we take a last break. My 3 elder brothers tell me I was adopted, and if a stranger or strangers came to the door, they would say they were there to take me back. This went on for a while until I asked Mum. They all got reprimanded. I'm not surprised. Boys can be bold, can't they? If you stare at the TV too long, your eyes will turn square. Yeah, I heard that one too. If you make a face and the wind blows, your face will stay that way. I also got that one. And if you smoke, you'll stop growing. Bit of truth in that. But also, wow, that could be literally me. Sent those last 3 in. Keep them coming in. And keep them light-hearted, of course. What fibs were you told? What fibs were you told when you were younger? A caller says, as it relates to these upcoming referenda, remember the claims that abortion in Ireland would be rare if the 8th Amendment was repealed. 400,000 abortions later, we're still being told lies and more lies. Well, you see, like, I'm not sure about the 400,000 figure. I'd have to check that out. But the point being, and I kind of put that point to Miss Justice, well, that can be part of the reason why you decide which way to vote. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no... that is how you form an opinion on which way to vote. But you have to vote as well, be it yay or nay. But there you go. I mean, that's a valid point of view for that person. I'm not saying it's true, I'm just saying it's valid for them. Greg, in those cultures that allow more than one wife, are the women allowed to have more than one husband? I would doubt it very much. It might be 2024, but it's like 1024 in many countries, and in some areas this one too. All right, back with more after these.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Make your Valentine's Day simply better with a restaurant quality meal for 2 for just €15 from Dunn Stores. Choose from a range of delicious mains like award-winning Irish Angus steaks or organic Irish salmon, paired with a side dish of your choosing like potato gratin, and finish with a decadent dessert like creme brulee. Then toast to savings with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Make Valentine's Day simply better with Dunn Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on the next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Fabric World Maydown Derry biggest ever winter sale now on trend and in stock curtain and upholstery fabrics all on sale. Over 3,000 metres now half price or less. Free curtain design ready-made curtains up to half price and lining from £1 with fabulous rates on the Euro in store at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
Are you ready to elevate your driving experience? Look no further than iMotors, your only Nissan dealership in the Northwest. The Nissan X-Trail has been crowned Large SUV of the Year. That's right, it's not just an SUV, it's an award-winning experience on wheels. Available in 4-wheel drive and a 7-seater. Visit us today at imotors.ie to find out more.
Are you building, rebuilding or renovating? What heat pumps or solar panels would suit your build? Come along and speak to the experts, Efficient Renewables on heat pumps and solar panels. Get advice on installation and grants available. Visit the Efficient Renewables showroom in Newton Cunningham and see these products in operation for yourself.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and Uflex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Rightio. Now, dry and calm with hazy sunshine for much of the day. Cold with highest temperatures of just 4 or 5 degrees with light northwest breezes. Now, the Dementia Understand Together campaign is running, and Highland Radio is supporting the ongoing Dementia Understand Together campaign being led by the HSE. Currently, there are over 64,000 people living with dementia in Ireland. There is a particular focus this year on the importance of connection, friendship and social interaction for people and families who are living with dementia. www.understandtogether.ie. You can go there for more information and free training. Advice support is available by calling the national helpline provided by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland on free phone 1800 341 341. Anna McTurnan is Older Person Service Coordinator with the Leitrim Development Company and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Anna.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. So can you briefly describe to us what is dementia?
Well, dementia would be the umbrella term to describe a cognitive impairment disorder. So basically, there's so many varieties of dementia, and they can affect you in lots of different ways, from the way that you remember things to the way that you see the world and interact with people.
And how does it generally present itself? I do understand it's different, dependent on the condition and the person, but is there a sort of a general description?
I mean, as you say, it's very different for lots of different people. I mean, we'd be very common with the symptom of becoming a little bit forgetful, forgetting how to do everyday activities, things like making a cup of tea, things around the house that seem more difficult to remember. But there's other things, like seeing things that aren't there on occasions, your visual impairments, things like that. So the best thing to do is, if you are concerned about anything, even if it's not something that you would stereotypically think of as a dementia symptom, is go and talk to your GP and have a chat with them.
Yeah, okay. Because obviously, and I hope I still have you there, obviously you could. We have a tendency maybe to put something down to something else. As we age, sometimes we can get slightly forgetful, but don't self-diagnose. If you have any concerns, go and speak to your GP.
Definitely. And I mean, the number of people being diagnosed with dementia is increasing every year. And so everyone's experience is different. So as you say, don't wait. Quick intervention is best, because there's great drugs for the symptoms of dementia, and also that you can become familiar with how it's going to affect your life and progress, and how you can help yourself to understand it better.
Much of the advice this week and last has been really useful. Talking about dementia, stay in touch, see the person, not the dementia, and ask how you can help. Do you think that's born a little bit from the fact that sometimes if someone close to us is diagnosed with dementia, that we can sort of take a step back or be fearful or, disengage, when really it's the opposite that we should be doing?
Absolutely. I think the way things are depicted on TV and in films, we're all terrified of that, of the double loss of a person, that we lose the person and then we lose them forever after that. And I think it doesn't always present that way. It doesn't always progress so aggressively and quickly. And there's some really great dementia-specific services that people can access in their counties. So dementia advisors, memory technology rooms, as you've just mentioned, the National Helpline. But there's also non-specific dementia services. The things that we always did, the hobbies that we had, the things that made us us, they're really important to stay connected with and engage with, because we need our friends, we need our community, and I think the tendency is to retreat, or people don't know how to talk to someone that's got a dementia diagnosis. But it's really important for both sides, for the person with dementia to try and keep doing what they always did and try to keep connecting with their community, but also for the people that don't have dementia in communities. It's really, I would really encourage anybody to try to learn a little bit more about dementia. There's some free training courses that you can do on the Understand Together website, and that gives us a good general understanding. But just patience and kindness, and the businesses we go into and the communities we live in, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, kindness is. I've never heard anyone complain that there's too much kindness. There's always space for more kindness, and often too, Justine, you talked of the importance of keeping up hobbies and interests, and people may well need support in doing so. So, people might retract from that and go, well, because of this and that, I can't do this or the other. Or we have a role to support them and say, oh yes, you can, and this is how you can do this. Support them in that.
Exactly, and I don't think if we manage to keep seeing the person rather than the diagnosis, I think it makes life a lot easier for everyone. So if we learn a little bit more about what we can do to help, how we can present information and listen to people, then it makes life much easier for them to continue to be part of a community, because they don't feel that they're going to be a burden or feel that they can't articulate what they want when they go to a shop or when they go to, see a friend or join a community group.
Yeah, now, and maybe the answer to this question, it would be kind of an opinion or anecdotal, but, 64,000 people diagnosed is an awful lot of people. Break that down into counties right across the country. It's a lot of people. Are they seen? Are they supported and active in the community as they should be? Or is, unfortunately, society set up in such a way, or access to services or whatever it might be, that a lot of these people aren't seen, that they maybe become isolated? And is that something that we need to work on too?
I think it's a spectrum. I think wherever you are on your journey, I think when you've had an early diagnosis and life is somewhat as it was, and you can find things, assistive technology and things you can use in your own home, I think people are seen maybe at that stage of their journey, because they're still able to some degree continue on. As the disease progresses and people go to more specific dementia services like COGS clubs or memory cafes or into dementia care units, in residential units, I think then they become unseen, and I suppose we don't recognise it. But as you've just said, I mean, we could always understand better. We could all make a bit more effort to understand it. And even if we all did it, would there still be room for more? We all need to understand that this is something that can happen to our family members. It can happen to us. It's happening to people we love all over the country right now. And we can all do a little bit better to support people.
Yeah, one of the things that's suggested is for communities to be aware of neighbours in the area with dementia. How do we achieve that? Because I suppose it's up to the individual to let others know or not know or whatever. But how can communities be more aware of neighbours in the area with dementia?
I suppose we should all be checking on our older neighbours anyway, with dementia or without them, whether it's just stay in touch and knock on the door, things like that. There are services like a loans befriending service, and they do a call service and a face-to-face befriender for people that perhaps are alone, and that can be dementia specific or not. And so I think that sort of linking in, whether it's over the phone or in person, is really important for anybody that's on their own. Especially older people. But I think with dementia, it's a very personal journey, and if you're lucky enough to have a family or a spouse or a daughter or a son that can take you, you can share your concerns with and can help you along the journey of getting the diagnosis and what that means for your life, then that's brilliant. But some people are entirely on their own, and as you say, don't always get the medical assistance that they require because they don't know that they need it, or we're always terrible at putting things off when it's ourselves.
And I think
so,
too,
I think just calling in and keeping in touch.
Yeah, and finally, Anna, as the population lives longer, we are going to see more cases of dementia. But it just feels generally that the world is moving forward and leaving a lot of people, particularly older people, behind in terms of tech, the use of cash and all that type of stuff. I mean, we can do our bit and we should do our bit, but I think businesses and even arms of the state need to do more, do they not, to make sure that services are easy to access for people with dementia or not, and that there's an ease of use there. I don't think in our race to sort of evolve that we should leave generations behind us.
Exactly, and I think things are probably better than people think they are in more counties. We've got the Ireland is an age-friendly country. Every county in Ireland has signed up to the age-friendly programme, which tries to look through a strategy in every county to develop everything from housing to transport to healthcare to make it more accessible for everybody, so that this universal design spreads through to older people and anybody that has any mobility issues or any kind of disability, and it's open to everyone. So if you look round every county, I work in Leitrim, but I'm sure the same is true of Donegal, that there are so many great social groups. There's daycare centres, there's dementia advisors, there's one-stop shops for housing. You know, the local county councils have great healthy homes coordinators that have just been put into place, Healthy Highland. There's lots of things happening with sports partnerships and ETBs to look at lifelong learning, sports, keeping going as we get older. The problem is, when you're younger, you don't necessarily look for those services and you don't know they exist.
Right.
But they're very easy to access and they're great and they're there. And yes, we can always do more, but we've got to remember that we've come a long way and there are great services around.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. That's Anna McTurnan there, who's Older Person Service Coordinator with the Leitrim Development Company. Understandtogether.ie for more information and free training. Advice support is available by calling the national helpline provided by the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, and that number is 1800 341 341. Back after these with the news.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Go full Lidl with our exclusive Lidl Plus Super Savers. Like Board B approved beef and pork mince was $3.99, now $3.19. And our Irish carrots were $1.15, now 59¢. And then there's our award-winning deluxe sourdough pizza, which was $3.99, now $2.99. Scan your Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
Nutrius XL Yo with Lamb and Nutrius Yo with Lamb Crunch are formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer. 25 kg bags, buy 10, get 1 free. And €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Step into style with Green Shoes. Stocking the latest styles from all your favourite brands in footwear. From Doc Martens, New Balance and Echo to Riker, Birkenstock and Bugatti. Shop in store in Green Shoes Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and Fulcara. Or shop from the comfort of home on greenshoes.com and have the latest styles delivered right to your doorstep. Shop LK and one for all gift cards accepted in store. Green Shoes, the perfect fit for every foot.
Don't miss out on Ireland's #1 home energy deal. Switch to SSE Airtricity today and you'll be switching to the best energy offer in the market with up to 20% off select plans. Choose our Smart Everyday plan and you'll enjoy even greater benefits, like an hourly overview of your energy consumption, a simple flat 24-hour rate, and an end to estimated electricity bills. Switching couldn't be easier. Simply go to ssseairtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. EAB €1,484.82. Rates valid from the 1st of February 2024. For details of T's and C's, rates, exit fees, standing charges and renewable energy, see ssseairtricity.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is a little after 11 o'clock, but still time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Atlantic Technological University is to receive almost €20 million to enhance research and innovation opportunities. It's part of an €84 million allocation announced today by Further and Higher Education Minister Simon Harris. ATU President Dr. Orla Flynn, in welcoming the funding, says the North West has suffered for many years without such research and innovation. The DUP leader says Mary Lou McDonald must have the longest arms on the island if she thinks a united Ireland is within touching distance. The Sinn Féin leader last week claimed Irish unity is now close as she celebrated her party assuming the role of Stormont First Minister for the first time. More cases have been raised as part of a review into spinal surgeries at Temple Street Children's Hospital in Dublin. An independent review was already examining 19 cases but has now identified 17 more. It's understood these do not relate to unauthorised springs that were used and are instead being described as cases of concern. The chair of Donegal ETB is supporting calls for more deputy principals for post-primary schools. At the ETB's national conference, representations were made to increase the allocation of deputy principals in GESH schools. Councillor Donald Coyle says it's crucial the call is recognised. The North West is to receive additional funding under the Town and Village Renewal Scheme. The Minister for Rural and Community Development has today announced a €4.5 million national package for rural towns and villages. Minister Heather Humphrey says the extra funding for the North West will be provided in recognition of the specific challenges facing the region. Gardaí have conducted a checkpoint outside Dunganneely National School where serious safety concerns have repeatedly been raised. Most recently, a video shows a number of motorists ignoring the red light signal at the crossing outside the school while a mother and child waited to cross. The Donegal Town Roads Policing Unit yesterday carried out a speed check at the school and observed driver behaviour at the traffic lights. And ESB is working to restore power in the Moville area. Over 100 customers are affected by a power outage. It's expected power will be restored by 2:30 this afternoon. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Michaela, thank you very much indeed. And we have a really short break to take. More on the way.
You know when you're flying back from some winter sun, you take an epic cloud pic, but it's got your sunburnt reflection in the window. Well, the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra has built-in AI that removes reflections and even touches up your pic so well, you'll be drowning in fire emojis.
Galaxy AI is here. Buy now from Samsung and get up to €730 off when you trade in your old smartphone. Purchase by 29th of Feb. €730 based on Galaxy S23 Ultra 256GB. Values vary by model and condition. T's and C's apply.
Okay, some of your comments here. A recent heard dementia described as diabetes 3. Would your guest agree with that? Sorry, that came in a little bit late. How important is the therapy of familiar music to the dementia patient? Well, that hotline, that is really good for you to ring that helpline as well to ask questions like that. In relation to the referendi, Greg, cutting God out of the picture once again. If we'd bring God back into our lives and live as he intended, there would be less confusion and a happier world generally. I suppose that's your God, and everyone. There's so many gods out there. Why are women protesting about it? Don't believe anything politicians tell you. After women through the years fought to get us so many rights, it's all going to change now. Only knows what the Oireachtas will change it to as it goes along. Men will be able to go into women's refuge. Yeah, women being removed. I don't see how men could go into women's refuge. There is refuge for men as well too. Men can and be and are the victims of domestic violence, if that's what you're referencing. What happens if you live with friends? Does that make them your family? Well, it depends how close you are. I think you have to be intimate with them. Greg, why doesn't she say it out plain? Same-sex couples instead of durable couples. That's why people don't know what to vote. Well, you see, same-sex couples probably isn't inclusive enough language nowadays. So that's probably the reason. Just coming through the north, didn't go... Sorry, okay. That's just why they didn't get a message a little earlier on. My dad was a fireman for 30 years and I would not follow in his footsteps because the job wants you to not have a life. So you're there on call 24/7. Some people can't talk about their feelings or seek counselling and feel like the bottle is the answer. My brother tried to follow in his footsteps and was 2 kilometres outside the bracket. And when you're in a job like that, you feel you can't leave, can't relax because you're waiting on the bleeper to go off. Well, hopefully now the changes that have been made, which are quite significant in terms of money and other things, your week on, flexible week off, that make it more attractive than it would have been when your father was there. Greg, you told a listener who denies climate change that if you go online, you can get any information to match your point of view. By the same token, you said that you read a report that electric cars are better for the environment in the long run than a petrol or diesel. What makes you so sure the report you read is the correct one? Just saying absolutely nothing. That's why I don't ram my views down people's throats. Everyone is entitled to their own point of view. I was just quoting some science that I read. Okay, let us go now to... Barry Quinn, who's owner of Portnew Market Garden. Barry, can you hear me? Good morning to you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Good to have you on board. Thanks so much for joining us. From, of course, Donegal, owner of Port Newmarket Garden, and you've been expressing your concern about the increasing evidence showing that weed killer is damaging to our health and devastating to our environment. And our council is one of, not all of them, that's still using harmful substances. And there is very strong evidence and directives and what have you that suggest some of this stuff we're using shouldn't be used at all. So you've been digging into this. Tell us your views.
Yeah, so there's something I've been quite passionate about for many years now. I've been talking about it and making people aware of it for a long time. There's a statistic I like to give people straight away, and it's very worrying that 24% of Irish people have got the active ingredient that's in Roundup. It's called glyphosate, is in their systems. That's from research done by the University of Galway, carried out in 2022. That figure is actually 80% in the United States. You know, it's worrying numbers. It's something that we should really be made aware of and something that we should be concerned about. There's mounting evidence, as you say, that this is a hugely damaging and dangerous product to be using in and around our towns and in our villages. And, we should really make a stand, and we can make a stand. Like Cork County Council have already last year have really kind of led the way. Their roadside teams have stopped using it all along the edges of the roads and pathways, and it's been great success. There's really scary evidence.
Well, we'll get to that. We're real laggards up here, though, because the last stats I saw, the council was spending over €80,000 a year on these chemicals that are sort of classed as toxic weed killers, and also sprayed on public areas, roads, and what have you across Donegal. Now, from time to time, you see someone out doing this, and they're in a hazmat suit, effectively, and all protected. But there doesn't seem to be any signage up. The road's not closed. There's dogs could be walking down there 5 minutes later, kids running through grass. It's like really, really worrying. Even if you don't dig into even if you don't do a deep dive into the science, there's something fundamentally wrong there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yeah. So it's apparently okay for councils to go through playgrounds and roadsides and spray this without any signage, and it can be as fresh as an hour on, and then the children could come into a park and play. And that's something, as you say, it needs to be looked at. Something needs to be changed here, because it's too dangerous. It can't happen. It can't go on like this. As I say, with Cork County Council, they have really started this motion, and I think that the people of Donegal needs to be made aware of the dangers of this, and then we could be, one of the counties that leads the way now too.
Glyphosate, is that the particular concerning chemical that is found in Roundup and others, and there's been, not here, but there's been some really high profile challenges to its use in the United States, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. Yeah, the makers of Roundup and glyphosate are Bayer. You might see pharmaceutical products of theirs at home. They bought a company called Monsanto back in 2018, who were the main producers of this. They've had mounting court cases against them throughout the years. In 2022, they paid out $11 billion. Only last week, they paid $2.25 billion to a man in Pennsylvania who developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from using this. And this evidence is backed up by research carried out. There was research carried out by a professor in the University of Washington. Her name is Leanne Shepard, and her and her team carried out a study on the correlation between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the conclusion was that there was a compelling link between the two. So this is the worrying part of it, that it's still being used here, and even after last year, in October last year, there was a vote in the European Commission as to whether or not to ban it or to renew the licence for 10 more years. And after toing and froing, and there wasn't a qualified majority of the vote, it was actually put through and voted for another 10 years. So that's why I've taken it on myself, and that's why I started this petition to say, well, if we're not going to get it stopped on a big scale like in Europe, so bit by bit, and maybe council by council in Ireland, we can make a big impact for our own health and for the environment too.
But what an opportunity for the likes of Donegal to put itself out there as, you know, a leader of change. You've referenced Cork there, and I'm sure Cork's being quoted in interviews and articles all over the place. I mean, you know, our greatest asset is our beautiful landscape and environment. You know, turn a negative into a positive. We should be really sort of using this as a platform to show the type of county we are and where we want to be.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you. That was the same feeling I had when I decided to do this. Maybe we could be one of the leaders in this in Ireland and show the way for the other counties to follow suit. And you know, who knows? You know, in a year or two's time from now, maybe the majority of the councils in Ireland, or hopefully the majority of the councils in Ireland, maybe have done away with using this harmful chemical. You know,
are there alternatives, effective alternatives?
Well, so there is alternatives. It's just hard for a lot of people to get away from the fact, and I have this conversation with so many people all the time. They're saying, but it's very effective. It's about changing your mindset as well towards this. You know, the most important thing is that this is a damaging chemical, and it can harm you and it can harm the environment. But there is alternatives, and for councils, there is, you know, there's a website called PAN. It's Pesticide Action Network. And they actually have a lot of information and guidance on how councils can get away from using them. So there is alternatives, yeah. There is most certainly. You know?
I wonder what was spraying on the knotweed, because I believe there was it's hard. I find it hard to judge time now, because there was like 2 or 3 years that is like purgatory. But Donegal County Council were leading a study or on the use of different chemicals for Japanese knotweed, which we know is invasive, really hard to shift. I mean, what was being sprayed on that? Also, Barry, what are we trying to control? Right, that's another thing that I'm interested in here. What are we spraying? What is the local authority spraying the likes of Roundup or similar chemicals on? Like, what are we sure that what we're killing we want to kill? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's a big move at the moment for wild sown fields and stuff. Do you know what I mean? They're not offensive. They're really quite beautiful and really good for the environment. So, like, what are we trying to kill with this stuff? What are we controlling?
So as far as I know, and the way I see it, it's all about convenience. It's about doing edges of roads to save an extra bit of labour, or they're spraying them in underneath slides and swings in parks, so they don't have to strim and stuff like that. But again, it comes down to how we view, as you say, like a meadow of grass. You know, if you view it differently, we've been told that a dandelion, for instance, is this invasive, terrible weed. But in actual fact, if you do a little bit of research, it's an amazing plant that has a lot of health benefits. All of it is edible, and it is hugely beneficial to soil. But funnily enough, Roundup have used the dandelion as a picture on their bottles as we need to get rid of this weed. But it's, you know, the weed that's growing in your garden is not doing as much harm as spraying a chemical onto your garden. You know?
Yeah, it's really quite interesting because, you know, people will know in towns and villages around the county that beautiful trees were butchered effectively. And it was like, why? I remember everyone's going, why was it? Well, it turned out it was because of maintenance and not having the budgets to maintain them. We're using these weed killers to limit maintenance. We don't put in public toilets, really. Let's just be honest. We try and avoid public toilets because really it's a problem to maintain them. And we're taking bins out of areas because people put rubbish in them and then you have to empty them, and that's maintenance as well. You know, there's an awful lot of strange decisions, and I'm not attributing all of these to the council or any individuals within the council, but we do make a lot of decisions which are detrimental, it would seem, based on not wanting to invest in maintenance and upkeep.
Well, that's what it seems like with this as well. Yeah, it's about being able to get out and do a quick job on the edges of the road so that they don't have to pay more. Undoubtedly, that's what it seems like. It's the convenient option. But again, if people are made aware of this, and the councils are made more aware of how detrimental it is for our health and for our environment, then, you know, perhaps a big change could be made, and it needs to be made, you know.
And also, like, just to reiterate, we don't really know. You don't know when this has been sprayed. You don't know where it's been sprayed. You don't know if you're walking through it. You don't know if your pet is walking through it. You don't know if the dog is chewing the grass. You don't know if your kids are pulling dandelions out and sniffing them just after they've been sprayed. Like, we simply don't know. I'm not trying to scaremonger, but there is a complete absence of public knowledge of this. All we know is that €85,000 was spent on these chemicals by the council. And this was the figures published in 2022. So presumably that covered 2021. So this is very recent history, unless something's changed drastically since. So if you want people to come on board with you and say, right, I'm a bit concerned about this, I don't like what's going on, you have a change.org petition up, which they have to come up with a different way of sorting this out. I'd love to read just for the lols, the URL, but unfortunately it's a full paragraph long. So if people want to sign this petition, what's the most convenient way for them to get access to it?
So on my social media platforms, it's on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. It's in my bio. The link is there to get on it. I do be sharing it regularly as well. So it's only a few clicks if you feel strongly about it. I mean, I always say, like, ask any parent, do you want your child in a park that this has been sprayed? And going back to a point you made there, Greg, you don't know when it's been sprayed. Usually this takes over 7 days before it starts to discolor. So, there's 7 days there that it's very fresh on the ground. And as you say, pets could be through it and your children. And
I don't like using this stuff at home. I just don't like it. And I'm not on about the Roundup, but, the commonly available stuff. By the time you put on your goggles, your mask, your gloves, you think, well, what the hell is in this? And that's just on a domestic sort of basis, right? If people want to get more information, you can search Barry Quinn on socials, but there's a bit of a curveball in that you spell your first name a little bit different than people might presume. So it's not Barry, it's Barrie.
Yeah, but it's Port Newmarket Garden is all my socials.
Right,
Port
you know
Newmarket
what? And just go to Port Newmarket Garden. Okay. Right, anything you want to add, Barry?
This is something I've been very passionate about again, and I love spreading. I really want to thank you for bringing me on here because, the people that are making the decisions, like in Europe and that, are powerful people and they're in powerful positions. And although they're making these decisions, they're not always right. And you would know this, Greg, that they're not always right. And so I think it's up to people like myself and people like yourself too, to that are in positions where we can speak to a wider audience and we can create awareness and make it aware that this is something that we can change and hopefully we can make a change for the better.
And if you glance over the arguments that are made, how they're being pitched, where they're being pitched, and then you look at the court cases and how they're being settled and what's being said, if you do a deep dive into it a little bit, you don't even have to go too deep. It does feel very reminiscent of cigarettes. And other things like that, where people are saying, right, we can get another 10 years out of this and then we'll get out. All right, so people just need to be careful. And as always, stay informed. Barry, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Greg.
Barry Quinn, owner of Port Newmarket Garden. If you want more information, Port Newmarket Garden. Now, the figures I'm quoting were figures that were published late 2022 in terms of the council's purchasing of pesticides and other chemicals. We'll make an inquiry to find out if that's changed or not. I don't want to do the council a disservice if they've changed their practices. I'll give that equal platform as well. But that's off the back of the concerns there. Hi, Greg. Can you recommend an organic weed killer that works, please? I can't, but I know our fantastic listeners on the 9 till noon show can. So what? And I would be really interested in this as well. I don't like the weed killer. I just don't like using it. I don't like it around the house. I don't like spraying it. So what is a good way to suppress, kill weeds that is organic and works? Now, the thing is, everything takes time. Like, weed killer takes a couple of weeks to work, doesn't it? But is there an organic alternative? A listener wants to know. I ain't gonna lie, I want to know. Let us know. 086 60 25,000.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Across a wide range of categories, the 2024.ie Digital Town Awards are a chance to showcase your town's digital project. Apply now at digitaltownawards.ie. Brought to you by .ie. Ireland's National Domain Registry. Terms and conditions apply.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rocking Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
Discover comfort with iHeating and Cooling, your trusted heat pump engineers and Mitsubishi approved service providers in Donegal. We design, install and maintain cutting edge heating systems. Build a lasting relationship with us through annual service and comprehensive after sales support. Contact us for a free consultation on low cost, low carbon heating solutions. Visit iheatingandcooling.ie today.
Join Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds for their Future of Farming 2024 and the Donegal Silage Awards evening on Wednesday 7th of February at 8 p.m. in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Learn from industry experts on the evening including Finbar O'Regan from the Department of Agriculture, Conor Brown from the ICBF, Adam Woods from the Irish Farmers Journal and guest judge Andrew Wright, better known as Farm Theory NI on YouTube and TikTok. For more information visit homeland.ie.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. We welcome onto it now, Kathy. Good morning, Kathy. Listening perhaps to that last conversation with interest?
Yeah, I was listening to it and I heard about the spraying and all. And I was diagnosed last year in July with a thing called hairy cell leukemia.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something, it was a bit of a shock and it was something I didn't know much about. And when I looked up, how did I get this? And it's not hereditary or that type of thing, but some of the research would suggest, there's been nothing, concrete, but it would suggest that it may be caused by pesticides or sprays or that type of thing.
Can you tell us a bit
and I
more?
Found,
sorry, go. We'll get to. Can you tell us a little bit more about the condition? As you say, it's very rare. I hadn't heard of it before either.
Oh, have you not?
No, hairy cell leukemia. No, I haven't.
Hairy cell leukemia is my white blood cell count had been low for a good number of years, certainly since 2019. It was going down pretty rapid. And then I had headaches, a lot of pain, muscle tiredness, a lot of different stuff going on, and my white blood cell count was very low. Then about a year and a half ago, I got this purple sort of a blotchy rash on my face, and it didn't pay much heed, thought, well, spots or whatever, but eventually I went to the doctor and it was thought to be rosacea. I got cream for it and it got worse. It got actually pretty painful. So then I was on ivermectin, and I can't remember the name of the antibiotic, and I took those for 3 months, and it certainly healed the rash a bit or whatever, but it didn't totally go away. Then last year in May, I got my bloods done again after the 3 months of the treatment for my face was up, and my white blood cell count had dropped dramatically, that my immune system was very low. So I was with the haematologist on a Thursday. I was in on a Monday morning for a bone marrow biopsy at Letterkenny Hospital, and 2 weeks later I got my diagnosis of hairy cell leukemia. It's where these cells, they're a clone cell. They overproduce themselves within the bone marrow, and then they crowd out the production of good cells. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. They're invasive cells, really, effectively. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're a clone. They're a clone type. I'm a great one for reading into stuff and researching and looking and checking out or whatever, but basically they're a clone cell and they take over where your good cells are produced in your bone marrow and all like that, and then they crowd it out and there isn't room. So eventually then I had treatment at the end of September. Then I got neutropenic sepsis. I was allergic to some of the drugs that I was given afterwards, and I'm still trying to recover.
And lots of people, you want to, well, where did this come from? Could my children be affected, or my sisters or brothers or whatever it might be? So we try and find out. And the first thing that seems to be suggested is that it has been linked to exposure to chemicals. And you would have used...
It's not saying for definite. Yeah. There's no definite reason. There's no definite cause or no definite reason why, but there's a suggestion there of it. And growing up on a farm, I would have been exposed to chemicals. Like there was even stuff they used to put on potatoes, to stop them budding, so they would last longer. That was a chemical. Myself, I would have used different weed killers, Roundup, and different stuff you wouldn't have thought or whatever. We didn't protect ourselves. We didn't put on a mask, put on gloves. I'd be very conscious now. I'd wear gloves. I'd be constantly washing my hands. I would wear a mask even if I was soaping my car to wash it, about inhaling that stuff. And I found it very interesting the way that, they do spray along the roads and the paths and all like that, and you'll be out walking or whatever, and you just don't think, but that's bound to linger in the air for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and again,
just for me,
you just have to be extra careful now. And this is a condition that you will live with for the rest of your life. It develops slowly, but there are effective treatments. Is that the situation, Kathy?
Well, it developed very slowly with me, and I've had my treatment with 5 days of cladribine, and my immune system was totally depleted or whatever like that, and my faith and praying or whatever like that, and I would have great faith and I would be praying very hard to the Holy Spirit and all like that, that I would get remission. And the doctor explained to me the last day that I was on, I'm having a bone marrow biopsy now in April again to see if it's gone. But he said even with that, because it can't be found, even if it's not found in April in my bone marrow or whatever, they couldn't say for definite that it's eradicated.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah,
it's one of those things that can come back again.
Yeah, and
if there's the slightest reason.
Yeah, has your symptoms eased somewhat though?
The headaches aren't as bad, but the treatment then has its own effects or whatever. Nerve pain, bone pain, sleepless nights, anxiety, everything else that sort of goes with it. I joined in a group. There's a hairy cell leukemia support group or whatever, and like every other support group, there's a lot of positivity to be taken from it. There's a lot of learning from reading stuff on it, and then there's all the negative side of it as well or whatever. I would debate sometimes is it good to join these groups or not, because
But I think you've got your opinions too, Kathy. You sound like a person that has. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's like everything, and then people have their own takes and what have you. But listen, fingers crossed for April, and things going forward, Kathy. I hope you get good news, and I hope you're.
I also thought different times maybe on contacting yourself as well. I'm sure there must be other people in Donegal who've had a diagnosis of hairy cell leukemia. It would be nice just to put a face or to talk to someone who may have this hairy cell leukemia to see how other people got on.
Well, listen, they can contact us and we can check with them, and if you want to make contact with each other, we've done a lot of sort of awareness campaigns on many, many different things, and it may well have come up, but I just don't remember hairy cell leukemia coming up. It is pretty rare, but if you're happy enough, we'll invite anyone who's interested to contact us, and we can try and find a way for you to connect with them if that's what both parties want, if that would be useful for you, Kathy.
Yeah, I find that it's pretty rare, but sometimes things aren't as rare. It's just that, nobody highlights it, or there's awareness of it or whatever. There may be more people than we know about.
Yeah, last week we were speaking about a condition, and the person with it, Addison's disease, actually it is. The person with it was of the opinion there was only 2 people in Donegal with it, and I think by the time the interview had ended, it was like there was about 10 people who'd said they had it in Donegal. So I imagine it's probably going to be quite similar with hairy cell leukemia.
Yeah, just to say, how did treatment go for you, or what worked for you, or, there's learning from each other, and the best learning I think you get is from people who understand you, that have been through stuff themselves.
Exactly. Because no matter how sympathetic and caring those around us are, sometimes it's someone who's lived it and knows exactly what's going on that you can get a bit of comfort from. All right, Kathy, as I say, best of luck with April and beyond.
Thanks very
I'm sure
much
with your
for
faith and what
speaking.
have you will get good news, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I did find it interesting today, and I just, the awareness around the pesticides and stuff like that kind of thing, because there's stuff out there. Just awareness, I think, helps too.
For sure, and actually really useful to get some information on that condition. Thank you so much indeed, Kathy. A caller says it is some of the safest because it kills green plant it comes into contact with and does not leach. Okay. Glyphosate is probably, says a listener, the safest herbicide available when used correctly. And like any other chemicals, it's improper use, which leads to problems with its use. Okay, indeed. Thank you. Caroline on Facebook, in terms of sort of natural ways to kill weeds, pour 1 gallon of white vinegar into a bucket. 5% household white vinegar is fine. Add 1 cup of table salt. Stir in 1 tablespoon of liquid dishwashing soap, blend all thoroughly, and then funnel the weed killer into a plastic spray bottle. Pretty good weed killer, they say. So I presume, Caroline, you've used that. How long does it take to work and what have you? And is it useful sort of for the weeds on driveways and what and stuff? Right. The main ingredient in glyphosate is isopropylamine salt, which is an organic compound and amine, sorry about my pronunciation of some of this stuff, which is a type of ammonia. Glyphosate is absorbed into the plant and is deactivated on contact with soil, so does not leach. It is a contact herbicide, indeed. But could there be cross-contamination walking through or touching it after it's been sprayed? I'm texting from Australia. I spent Christmas with my sister and her family in Donegal. Great. Thank you. Childhood lies. When I was 12, I bought a hamster with my confirmation money, named him Hammy. Was mad about him. One morning I woke up and Hammy wasn't in his cage. I was devastated. Went off to school. When I came home, Hammy was back in his cage. My father told me he had found him in a cupboard near the kitchen while I was at school. For years, up to my trip to Donegal, I believed that Hammy had been found and put back. It never dawned on me that Hammy wasn't actually Hammy, but a complete new hamster. We laughed so much about this over Christmas. I've just turned 50, so clearly I'm a bit thick. Please say hi to my lovely sister Mary and her family from Helen in Wollongong, New South Wales. Actually, that reminds me, when we were younger, pestered mum and dad for a budgie. Eventually we got a budgie, and it was in a cage downstairs, and it's wonderful and terrible at the same time, but we spent so much time trying to get it to speak. I'm not sure budgies can speak or whatever, but anyway, that didn't work. But we'd get up early and get down. It feels like I'm doing that with Hudson now, but we'd get down early and try and teach the budgie to speak. But anyway, that's not really the story. But older brother, I think it was an older brother. Do you know those little eggs that you get at Easter time? The little hard-shelled eggs, the tiny little eggs. Well, they thought it would be funny to put a couple of these eggs in the cage, and we went down and so excited that the budgie had laid eggs. Never thought how that would be physically possible if there was only one budgie in there anyway. But for a couple of days was waiting on these little Easter eggs to hatch, and then I think someone took one out and ate it or something, and it was devastating. Funny, but it took a couple of days to get over. That was a bad prank. But fun at the same time, interesting to look back on. And poor Hammy there. There's Hammy 1 and Hammy 2. This time it's personal. Anyway, any more stories like that from your childhood? Share them to us on 086 60 25,000. I made that story about the eggs and the budgie sound really sad. It wasn't sad, it was hilarious, it was funny. And we've laughed about it many times since. But anyway, that's the kind of prank big brothers can be responsible for.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Are you graduating this year? Venture has opportunities for ambitious graduates from the Northwest region to join its Financial Services Graduate Programme 2024. And with offices located in both Letterkenny and Derry London Derry, you can build a successful career as a financial analyst right here on your doorstep. Want to work with the world's leading investment banks? Join the multi-award winning team at Fintrue and become the future of financial services. Visit fintrue.com/grad to apply. Applications close February 12th.
Uno, dos, tres. A hain, a do, a tree. 1, 2, 3. The Arona, the Ateca and the Tarraco. 3 great SUVs from Seat. And when you order now, you can enjoy 3 years free tyre insurance and 3 years roadside assistance, plus 3 flexible payment options to purchase your new Seat. Visit seat.ie to discover even more of our fantastic offers. Great things come in threes at DMG Motors, Donegal Town. And while I have 3 seconds, allow me to say that yes, terms and conditions apply.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who are unable to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. For a career in financial governance, consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services, starting in January. Contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie today.
All right, so you're very welcome back to the programme, and we welcome into studio now Chris Ashmore. We're going to be talking about the Business Matters podcast shortly. Digital First Content, DFC. You can download it, stream it, listen to it right now on our website, highlandradio.com. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Interesting, actually, to hear this first item of news before we get into the podcast. Donegal's most popular car by make, model and colour for the first month of this year.
Yes, I've been delving into the stats from the Society of the Irish Motor Industry. And, well, first of all, new car sales in Donegal, registrations in January amounted to 763 for the month. So that's 16% up on last year. So that's a good figure. The garages will be pleased with that. And nationally, it's up about 15%. So we're pretty much in kilter with the national figure. Although the national figure is actually slightly below the pre-COVID levels, so still a little bit of catch-up. But yes, now, Donegal, first month of the year of 2024, the best-selling brand was Toyota, who had 17% of the market, followed by Kia, and then we had Hyundai third, Skoda was fourth, and Peugeot was fifth. I can make up the top 12 if you want.
Well, no, we'll stick it at that.
We'll stick it at that, okay. And then now, the actual most popular model of car registered in Donegal in January was the Kia Sportage. 67 of them registered.
In America, they call them the Kia Sportage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Why do you call it the Sportage?
I really don't know.
It's called the Sportage. Sportage. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then we had the Toyota RAV4 with 31 and the Peugeot 3008 with 27.
So the top 3 selling cars are all SUVs, which is kind of interesting.
It shows the way things have gone. Yeah. And 5 of the top 10 models were Toyota, which is significant. And just, you might want to know that 32% of those registered in January were petrol, 27% diesel, and 24% hybrid petrol electric, which is sort of the big growth area because we're seeing not that many pure electric in Donegal because the hybrid electric gives you that little bit of option.
And there's the mild diesel hybrid as well, which I don't think goes into those figures.
Not as many.
And electric vehicles, percentage-wise, sort of standalone electric vehicles?
The standalone ones, it's about 7%, so it's not that. Yeah. Right. Now, colour is interesting. Grey, the most popular choice. Now, when they say grey, that takes in silver. So silver grey, 36% of all new registrations. So
Red's
dominant.
next, is it?
No, white, stroke, ivory,
Okay.
18%, and then black, 16%.
Right. Black cars are hard to keep clean.
Yes, they
Just
are
staying
indeed.
on that, a listener says, I got my renewal in for my private van. It was €644. When I rang up the company, the best they could do was €600. So I said, I'll get back to you. So I did an online quote for the same company. It came back at €490. So I rang up and told the lady the story. After she put me on hold for 28 minutes, I got it for €477. Just to say, patience pays off. So they went from 644, the renewal, down to 477 with the same bloody company. But anyway, okay. Right. Big plans in Falcara?
Yes, good news story was reported in the Business Post. A Falcara-based tech company called Celsius set to invest in the region of €5 million in an expansion programme that will lead to around 30 new jobs. Now, they manufacture wireless temperature monitoring systems. So a lot of these are for food display and storage. They signed a deal with Tesco last year, supplying 112 Tesco stores. So somebody somewhere can see what the temperature is of all the units. So they have a number of new products coming on stream in early 2025, so they're expanding rapidly. So a great little success story there.
Brilliant
Indeed.
stuff. And units of housing next, 88 for Letterkenny.
Yeah, plans in the pipeline for the construction of 72 houses and 16 apartments in the Creve Smith area of Letterkenny. And this follows on from an application some years ago. So the updated one is from George Doherty Construction Limited. It's currently with Donegal County Council, but that's quite a significant number, 72 houses and 16 apartments in the planning process.
All right, and the Donegal Women in Business Network, they have a workshop upcoming.
They do indeed, Wednesday the 21st of February, and it's a workshop all about numbers. Things that will be discussed will be, should you register for tax? You'll learn about VAT, how to minimise your tax liability, all sorts of things like that, and it'll be led by Larissa Feeney, who's the founder and CEO of Accountant Online. It's a full-day workshop, so you'll find more details on that on the Donegal Women in Business Facebook page, or indeed on their website as well.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's get down to the business of the podcast. Who's your guest this week, Chris?
My guest this week is a young woman called Hannah van der Walt, who came to Donegal 3 years ago from South Africa, initially planning to stay just 1 year. Her husband got a job here, and 1 year became 2 years became 3, and just before Christmas, in October, in fact, she went into business herself and opened her Bloom coffee shop in Letterkenny. So a nice little journey from South Africa to Letterkenny.
So the initial plan was to come here for 1 year. My husband got a job offer in Letterkenny, and we said we are young, we don't have kids or pets, so we're going to see how it goes. And 1 year turned into 2, and 2 turned into 3, and now we are here. And Letterkenny has been really good, very welcoming to us. So we are happy to be here. So my husband came on a critical skills permit, so I was allowed to start working immediately. And I said I want to work in a coffee shop. I like hospitality. I want to see what the culture is, how the people are, just to get to know the people and the community. And I got a job in another coffee shop in town where I started working. And I said to the owner one day, I want to open my own coffee shop. It's the plan to open a coffee shop one day. Not the intent, maybe not Letterkenny, and it just happened.
Okay, what an interesting story. And you can hear much more of it in the full podcast available for you right now on our website, highlandradio.com. You can choose to download or stream it from that platform. And it should also be up on Spotify or iTunes right now as well. And broadcast, of course, live, although pre-recorded, but broadcast on the airwaves on Sunday, Chris.
That's right, on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news. And you can contact me at businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. That is Chris Ashmore there, and we'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after these.
This week's show is brought to you by the Highland Hooligan Saloon. Join us this September in the sunny Saloon for a week of live entertainment with Ireland's leading country artists, dinner each evening and plenty of crack. Sun, Saloon and you this September. For booking information, go to the outlet on highlandradio.com.
Traditional Irish folk and ballad band The Kilkennys come to Jackson's Hotel Ballbuffet on Friday 16th of February and Kirchkey Door on Saturday 17th of February. Tickets are €20 each and available from Eventbrite and from hotel reception.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Is minic éin éifeachtaí faiban na féchas fersanta haar chórsaí airgid a seáin. Is it rudí nach míonling ag go thuirtearthu a déitach a bheith na gúis len ar me. Gwylan strosort, tien cadrap in olcus. Déitach se mothú go bhfuil an saoigh titama sa chéile, ach tá cabhar ar fáil. Fáireasar an móthir le service doch bhíonachta na hÉireann, agréad nábsblach a chairíonn le faiban na féchas fersanta réiteach. Feich backandtrack.ie le takeíocht do réaltas na hÉireann.
Fabric World Maydown Derry biggest ever winter sale now on trend and in stock curtain and upholstery fabrics all on sale. Over 3,000 metres now half price or less. Free curtain design ready-made curtains up to half price and lining from £1 with fabulous rates on the Euro in store at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
Across Ireland, more than 1.6 million homes, farms and businesses have been upgraded to a smart electricity meter. And ESB Networks is continuing the rollout of smart meters in your area, connecting more of us to a cleaner electric future. One of the benefits of your smart meter is being able to find out more about your daily usage regardless of who your electricity supplier is. Get started by signing up today for your online account. Visit esbnetworks.ie. ESB Networks, energising your everything.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated Airona air-to-water heat pump and U-Flex underfloor heating. Visit grant.ie.
Okay, dry and calm for the rest of today with high hazy sunshine for much of the day. Cold with highest temperatures of just 4 or 5 degrees in light northeast breezes. Now, we received correspondent from a listener, and the whole letter is on our social media. I can't go through it all now because time wouldn't permit, but it reads as follows to begin with. I know that you've helped others before and given them the right resources and advice to help. I'm at my wit's end. I'm the eldest in my family and unfortunately never met the right person to settle down with. That is until 2 years ago. I've been dating my partner for 2 years and it's all going smoothly. My mother's in her late 70s and relies on me a lot. I've always been a mummy's girl and always felt that we've an unbreakable bond. My mother's health has deteriorated in recent years. As I live closest, I'm tasked with minding her. I enjoy her company, but my God, it is tough now that she's started to dote, has become frail and forgetful and just generally needs more help. I have 3 other siblings. One who lives a 15-minute drive away but is very preoccupied with his job, so he makes excuses that he's too busy to take mum for a drive or even just take her to the shop for the essentials. I find this behaviour to be totally selfish. My other sibling lives in Galway with 3 young children, so I understand it would be difficult for them to care for mum due to the distance. My other sibling lives an hour's drive away but also has a young family. Managing family life can be tough. Not only, though, would a monthly visit help mum, but grandchildren love their grandparents. I feel that my sister is making them miss out by not bringing them to visit mum. I've cared for and visited mum for years, the most 4 years, as I'm the most readily available with the least commitment out of all of my siblings. Why does the responsibility of caring for a parent always fall on one person? Any advice? And I've kind of skipped through some of that, but I hope the correspondent understands. It is a familiar story. A lot of people out there will go, you know what, that's very similar to my experience. Beth Fitzpatrick is a psychotherapist and has accepted our invite to come on and talk about this. As I say, Beth, good morning to you. And not an unfamiliar story. I would say one that an awful lot of people listening can relate to.
That's right, Greg. And, you know, in our service, like in Crumlin, we see a lot of people that are caught in the same situation. And basically, I know you're stuck for time and coming up to the news.
Well, we've 7 minutes, so take your
I'm
time.
going to try and help this lady. Yeah, she's really, really a beautiful person. Listen, reading her letter, she's a beautiful person. She has been so good to her mother, and she's not even being too hard on her siblings. But the thing is, people will take as long as you give. It's not because they're bad. I was taught that a long time ago. So it's up to her to say, look, I love you, Mum, but I mightn't be able to come every day. And it's when we continue to do something, people expect it. It's not that our siblings are bad. They're just used to her doing it. So it's like saying to them, do you know something? I can't do this all the time. I'm going to need some help. I can't do it alone. You can never make somebody do something. So it's not to lose faith with them. It's to say, look, I can't. If you ask for help, if I say to my family, look, I need some help with this, I can't do it. Can you help me? It works better than say, oh, you'd never help me. And, it's like saying the right words.
So how do you overcome, though, the argument, well, I live far away, I've got young kids, it's hard for me to get up and down, or the other siblings saying, well, I'm really busy, and you've got no kids and you live right beside Mum. I mean, you have to stand up for yourself and look after your own health and mental well-being, don't you?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but even in our letter, she says, even a phone call.
Yeah.
And she's also right in saying grandchildren need their grandparents. I mean, I'm a grandmother myself, and I know it's so good for them to see a different part. And it's like saying, and all she wants, even a phone call from the one that lives in Galway. I mean, I think she's been so
reasonable.
Good. I think this lady deserves a huge medal, I mean, for what she's done. But she, at some stage, it's as long as I remember years ago when I used to do things for everything for my children, and then I learned this theory of taking care of myself as well. So I said to them, I'm sorry for continuing to do this. I'm not going to do it anymore. And like they didn't. It was only I changed. By her changing, she can help. And it's only little steps. Like maybe saying to her sister, I'm not going to be there this Saturday. I'm hoping one of you will step up.
And you suggest a WhatsApp group. A WhatsApp group would be a good way of communicating.
100%. A WhatsApp group would be, she might have that already, but put the mother on the WhatsApp group. No, not the mother, just the three of them. Because I do that with all my siblings. And I mean, I often had it, my mother is well past now, but like that, we all took days that we could go in, even if we lived far. And it's like, this woman has 4 children. It's not like she has only one. She has 4. And it's like if I can get away with it, if I know somebody is doing it all the time, it's easy for me to sit back and say, that's your job. I can't do that.
So, but that might not be, you're saying that might not be motivated by badness. That might be just, sure, Mary's up beside Mum. She can look, yeah.
She can do everything. She can do everything. And they rely, say for example, you're giving somebody something every week, and they take it for granted that it's going to be there. It's like the same thing. You go to see somebody every day, and if you don't turn up, they're going to be annoyed at you. But it's like saying to Mum, I know I've always doing it, but I do have a life as well, and I'm not going to make it every day. And the mother might be demanding because she's learned. At the same time, wouldn't it be lovely if one of them went up with the children, even say, I'll do it on a Saturday, I'll do this, even every other Saturday. She's only looking for them to come up once a month. I mean, my God, this girl is so patient. I'd be looking for a lot more than once a month. One of them is only an hour away.
15 minutes away, one is away. But say, for instance,
3 minutes away.
So to employ that advice, and hopefully it would resonate, Beth, there are also, and people do be reluctant to bring in outside help that's not family, but there are services there in the meantime, in the interim, that could give this brilliant daughter a little bit of time to herself, a bit of respite.
Absolutely. I have helped so many people in Access Counselling where we are over the years, help them to stand back and learn them that it's not their fault that they've done this. She's a caring type. She's a first child. Usually the first child takes on everything, but it's too much for them. It's too much. And they need to let go and say, look, I know I've done it. And she also adores her mother, you can see that. But it's about standing back and saying, I can't do it every day.
And I don't think she could...
I'm so glad she's met somebody.
And in challenging that, Beth, she shouldn't feel guilty or selfish for thinking those thoughts.
You know what I would do? I would send any guilt she feels on a very slow boat to China.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think that you can have a conflict of emotions there, can't you? I shouldn't feel like
this. Yeah, you can. And guilt is not a bad thing. It can teach us right from wrong. Yeah. It can teach us, it's a very normal feeling. But when she feels that guilt, just say, no, I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go with love. I love my mum. I've done so much. Mum, I can't do it every day. I know I'm always there. And even though her mother is out, it looks like she can look and also look out for outside help. Yeah. Like what's in the community? Is there neighbours? Is there people that can pop in? Yeah. Is there Meals on Wheels? Is there like help from the local community? Yeah. The local resources.
Listen, Beth, there's some brilliant advice in there, but I think this is actually, especially given the reaction, is something we're going to have to dedicate actually quite a bit more time to, because there's an awful lot in here and an awful lot of people in the same boat. But I think for now, you've given our listeners some really encouraging words and some really good advice and something to work with, Beth. And I would love to follow this up with you at a later date. But for now, have a wonderful day. And thank you so much, Greg. Beth. That's our fault because I couldn't get to you sooner. Bye-bye. Thank you. Beth Fitzpatrick there. A caller says, my story exactly, no recognition from the government either whatsoever. And another, the moral of this story is very common. I can look after 5 growing up, but 5 cannot look after the 1 when they get older. All right, and on that note, and that's something we'll probably return to. Keep your texts and calls coming in, by the way. The lines remain open. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Back tomorrow at 9. John Bresson's up next.